I check to make sure everything's working. I'm your host, Patrick Marlett, your local game guy, joined by local gamer Will.
Sup?
Hey, man. Uh, we saw you guys not too long ago, maybe. If you were joining us for our stream on Commander Brackets, which does play a part in today's live. So, as is tradition, we like to throw shade and or praise all the latest legendaries from recent sets. And oh boy, we just got a new one, Aetherdrift. That's right. Get your jackets ready and your chaps on, because we're taking a ride. Uh, so there's new legendaries here, and we like to rank them in terms of our own tier system for how effective they might be in a game of Commander, because that's what we talk about. Today, we're going to do this a little differently, not that much differently, but we're going to be using the bracket system. So it's not going to be as sexy as seeing an S on the screen, okay? But the number 5, that's kind of appealing, right?
Stars, let's go.
Five
Highly
star,
rated.
exactly. Michelin, 5-star restaurant. We have fifth gear. My bike only has 5 gears. That's as good as it gets. So
Man, that Legendary's 5 stars, it's cooking. Michelin 5 stars, it's cooking.
exactly. Exactly. Let him cook. Dude, he's gonna get there. So basically today we're taking our patented tier system, throwing it on its head and giving you guys a more appropriate tier list for the future of Magic the Gathering's Commander format. So without much further ado, I just want to chill for a second because we start around 11. Hi guys. For everyone else who's also just waking up, happy post Valentine's Day. Hope you had a fun one. I don't know. Do you celebrate? What are the holidays you celebrate and don't celebrate? Well,
It is pretty much just like Christmas and Thanksgiving. Those are like the only two that I really and 4th of July.
okay, okay, yeah. 4th of July we celebrate here. I got a lot of photos of the niece and nephews. Got them celebrating. My brother-in-law, hey Jared, if you watch this, he was like slammed at work. He works at a big restaurant, and he's like the head chef there. And it was Valentine's Day, so you do the math. I hope you're still alive. Allie and I both worked. I love that my dad, hey dad, he reached out to me. He's like, hey, what are you guys doing for Valentine's Day? I'm like, I don't know, whatever the rest of America's doing. We're working right now. Thank God it's just the one job though, because I would hate to side hustle like so many others. But yeah, one job, got home, found groceries, made dinner, surprised Allie. That was how I celebrated. Hashin's so good I already got a copy, okay, of the
Of the
Cashiton.
Casherton. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you for thinking he's good, but is he really good?
We're gonna find out in a couple minutes whenever enough people pile in.
Yeah, no, I'm just chilling for now. We could start whenever. But yeah, after this though, how are you guys going to celebrate the rest of your weekend? That's what I'm interested in. Are you on any good games right now? I know you were playing Hyper Light Breaker. I
Mostly just playing Hyper Light Breaker because beta, so I gotta test out a whole bunch of stuff and experiment, and then potentially message developers saying like, "Hey, yeah, please change this. This feels horrible," or "Do more of this. This is good."
yeah. I know you've been playing it for a while. You've already built up your thoughts, I'm assuming.
Yeah, the things I'm experimenting with right now is like all of the different items in the game, so I can basically explain why I think certain things are good or bad. So, building up thoughts on those. My only thing that I've bumped into that I really hate right now is the spear in the game, because all other weapons in the game, when you attack, it's usually like one succinct strike, and then you can combo into other things by continuing to attack. With the spear, your first attack is like jabbing 4 times in a row, like it's a locked in animation of like you are
Ooh.
striking several times to start, and it's like, oh, that feels horrible, because a lot of the time you just want to like dash, smack, dash, smack, dash,
Right.
smack, and
So
like
this doesn't
chip
really
up
play with
damage.
it doesn't really play with the natural play pattern. Is there like a degree of I mean, is there an excuse for it to be that way? Like, does it stagger enemies? Does it have like a high stagger rate, or is that even a thing?
it's like a little bit higher reach. That's potentially the only reason why it has that. But the issue is
What if it was a
every
double poke? Would double poke fit like a good timing for you to?
double poke would probably be a little bit better because
Mhm.
the daggers in the game have a double slash as the initial attack. But
Oh, okay.
my main issue with that though is every weapon has a charge attack, and usually it's just like the finisher, but slightly different, like whatever the ending combo is. With the spear, it is you throw the spear, but you have to get through the initial attack first. So if you want to hit somebody at range with the spear, you have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, throw.
You know, I want to play this game now and only play Spear and then tell you how much I love it. All right, guys. So if you haven't played any Aetherdrift, that's okay. I did pick up some pre-release kits. I did play with that same brother-in-law. Hey, Jared. And I got my ass kicked. But there was a lot of vanilla legendaries we're going to run into, just like named racers, I guess. I didn't read too much into the lore, but there are like legendaries that are just vanilla, so we can kind of guess where they're going to fit. But there are a handful of legendaries that I think are going to be good for competitive play. Before we jump into this one, though, I do want to explain the bracket system in brief. Will, I'm hoping you can do that for us, and then that'll at least give you guys an idea of why we're placing legendaries where they're being placed, and if there's any confusion, you can just ask me throughout. Or Will.
Um, so for brackets, for those who don't know, as brackets are a relatively new thing, the simplest description that I'm going to give is bracket 1 are joke decks, bracket 2 are precons, bracket 3 are upgraded precons, bracket 4 is like the higher tier casual decks, and bracket 5 is cEDH. The expectation is bracket 4 decks can beat bracket 5 decks but lose to bracket 3 decks. Bracket 3 beats 4 but can still lose to bracket 2, and so on. So for this, what I'm looking at for each of the brackets to describe them is for bracket 5, it would be commanders who have a clear game plan with like value and a clear win con. And then have at least one of those be clean. Like a Thras or Timna's a good example of a commander
Mm,
that can just get a win con because accessibility to colors, but has a clear and clean value engine. So Timna would be a 5 because you have clear wins or clean win or you have clear wins and you have clear and a clean value engine. For bracket 4, it's clear win con and a clear value engine to some extent. They don't have to be clean. Bracket 3, I'd say, is at least one clear value engine or a clear win con, and bracket 2 is not really a clear or clean win con, but is still playable. And bracket 1 is joke decks. Anything that you're literally just playing this because you're like, haha, look at me.
right. So, wait, explain bracket 2 again, your precon.
So yeah, precons are decks that don't have like a clear, like they don't have a clear game plan or win con, but are still functional.
You
Like they have a
mean,
lot of cards in the deck that are just kind of there for fun or to do big splashy things, but they don't advance your game plan in significant ways. Like Windgrace is a good example. Windgrace can grind you value, but he doesn't kind of grind you to any kind of win condition specifically. And Windgrace also doesn't have a clear combo to win. Windgrace is just a kind of grindy commander that doesn't grind to a win condition. But you could build Windgrace as a 3 because ramp is ramp. So Windgrace would probably be a 3,
yeah.
but for instance, a couple of the precon commanders we have in this set would be a very clear 2.
Yeah, so far as Windgrace is concerned, in lands in particular, guys, in case you didn't know, there are cards that are called game changers. You can only have X amount. You can have no amount if you're in brackets 1 or 2, but X amount if you're in bracket 3. Fetch lands and like true duels, all that shit, like the mana efficient stuff, that's still good, still fair game. So if you have that, you know, your Windgrace is probably going to be that much better, if I'm being honest.
Yeah,
Um,
and I do want to say all of this is assuming that you're building towards your commander over everything else, because yes, you can build their cEDH Windgraces.
ooh,
I
achoo.
just don't know why.
Oh,
there are cEDH Windgrace lists, but usually you don't see Windgrace as a bracket 5 deck. It's rare to see Windgrace as a bracket 4, but even the bracket 4 Windgrace decks are Jund good stuff with Windgrace at the helm just because he lets you draw a little bit and ramp a little bit. But usually if you're actually building into Windgrace, it's closer to a bracket 3. Like, it's
Yeah.
strong, but it's fair.
I like Lord Windgrace. I think he's one of the better Planeswalker commanders we've had. He is just a little costly. That's all.
Are you cheating on Tevish Zot, Patrick?
No, no, I'm saying that this is one of the better ones. I think anything that says partner attached to it's going to be the best. But
Yeah.
yeah, Tevish is the best. So we're going to go and talk about this in Wooburg order, obviously. There aren't too many like singular colored leaders here, so we should be able to bang through these colors pretty easily. But our first is Bosri. I actually pulled the the little pre-release promo version of this guy, and I'm like, what the hell is the theme? Why does Bosri give a shit about cats? And then I looked at all the cats in my deck, and I think I pulled like two cats, two cats to potentially play with. So this stayed right in that pre-release pack for one white, huh?
I do want to point out though, the name of this character is Bosri Ket. So now this one is Bosri Cat.
Oh my god. For a white 2/1 human knight, no cats involved. However, there are cats involved in its text box. For a white, a tap, and exert Bosri, create a 1/1 white creature token with lifelink, cat token. Jesus. An exerted creature won't untap during their next untap step. We've seen this effect before. Cycling, you can pay 2 and a white to discard this and draw a card. At least he's there for that. When you cycle this card, cats you control gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. Damn, that's a good effect. You're very slowly cranking out cats. Very slowly. You know, you can use untap effects to avoid the whole doesn't untap during your untap step, but are you really going to build around that engine? The cycling effect is really honestly cool if you have relevant cats. I just, as I talk about this, I just see this in B1. You can make a fun white cat tribal deck, but it's not gonna be good. I don't know. Can you push this? Where do you?
This is B1. The most advanced thing that you can do for this is Skull Clamp.
I think you say advanced.
Like,
the cats have discovered the skull clamp.
Yeah, you Skull Clamp, and then you're just killing cats to draw cards.
That's so fucked up, dude. No.
But yeah, my line for this one was Bosri, tomorrow's champion. Tomorrow never comes. 1. He's a tier 1 or bracket 1.
Tomorrow never cats. Yeah, he's pretty cool. You can, and if and after he's lost all his cats and he's lost his sanity, he skull clamps himself. He's like, no. Why do they keep dying? Why do they keep dying on me? I feel so bad for Bosri. All right, you're 2. I kind of want to do a Bosri.
That could be your bracket 1 deck. Just PETA violations. PETA violations.deck.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Like the player is like this rogue person like trying to kill all the cats in the neighborhood, and Bosri's just trying to like save them.
Well,
Man.
No, Patrick. What you do is you go on to makeplayingcards.com and you take just a whole bunch of adorable cat photos with 1/1s, and you just try to find the most horrific ways to kill them in Magic the Gathering context.
Yeah.
That's the whole game plan of the deck.
This is giving me like Mousetrap meets Magic. Like you're just trying to find inventive ways to kill the cats. And by the way, I love cats. We have 2 cats. I swear to God, we're cat enjoyers in this household. But I like that Will's one, and it's the best answer to the deck is Skull Clamp, and it just makes me sad.
You're making 1/1s. That's the thing you do with 1/1.
God, Sundial.
Have fun heroic interventioning those cats.
What do you think about I know, right? Oh my God.
Sundial Dawn Tyrant.
Yeah, dude. He's one generic, 1 white, 3/3 body construct. That's relevant.
It's an artifact. That is also kind of relevant.
I could shit it out with Oswald.
It should have been a 4/4 in my opinion, because we have the 1 white 2/2 doggo from forever ago, and this is just like one more for +1/+1. His mid, we put it in one. Bracket one.
I like you're seriously tempting me to build Bosri skull clamping cats. I'm more of a dog person. Always been more of a dog person. You have Basilisk Collar in the list. So there's like a sub theme of like dogs that have 2 defense that can never be clamped, and then it's just all the cats that can only be clamped.
I think you'd need to be in Selesnya for wolves for that.
I think we should just change the stream. We should just start working on that now. Okay, so Sundial Dawn Tyrant, is he good? No. It's not even memey.
Keep Sundial's name out your mouth.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
The only Sundial we respect here is the Infinite.
The Infinite one, yeah, which was not even named after this guy. All right, so what do we want to do with him?
He's bracket 1. We don't do anything with him. He's just there.
You know,
as a commander, he is there for the joke of having him there. Construct Tribal, there you go.
Well, for me, it's like, I feel like Bosri has wings, but like, you shouldn't even think about doing Sundial. So this is where like the bracket system's weird for me. You broke it down the other day pretty well though. It's like B2 feels like
precons.
Yeah, but like, you know, like I was saying, like you could always elevate a like Hashiton. I can elevate Hashiton out of precon status. You know what I mean?
It's basically, do you think that this can beat a cEDH deck? If no, then it's not 4. Do you think that it could beat the decks that beat a cEDH deck? If no, then it's in a 2. Do you think that it can beat a precon, or do you think that it can beat like a powered up precon? If no, then it's 1. That's kind of the best way to do this. And we're doing this from like you're building into your commander, because obviously if we wanted to build the Hunger Tyrant, the black one, you very much could build that in cEDH, but it would just be a Turbo Nas deck. But you're not building it to the commander at that point. So we're looking at this from a perspective of if you are building to this commander's logical conclusion, not the best thing that you could build in the 99 with this at the helm.
Kalorna? Coral Tyrant?
Kalorna, Coral Tyrant. Once again, just a well-statted vanilla commander.
Yeah.
What is it? It's a bear.
It's a 2 for an 08.
Yeah, but don't we have like 4 for an 017 that like makes itself get a metric crap ton of attack?
Yeah. It's in the 1 slot. Mu Yanling is kind of sick though. I did pull this. I had no place for it, but
yeah.
Mu
Yanling's good.
You read it off.
Yeah, okay. 2 and 2 blue for legendary creature, human wizard pilot with 2 power and 4 toughness. When this enters the battlefield, create a 3/1 colorless vehicle artifact with crew 1. Vehicles you control have flying. Whenever 1 or more creatures you control with flying deal combat damage to a player, draw a card. It's Tymna. It's a Tymna draw if your flyers connect. I don't think that this is going to be competitive. I don't think that there's like any crazy abusable thing that you can do to make it bracket 4. But I think that this is a little bit stronger than precons, just because you can build into this to draw at least 3 cards a turn pretty consistently, and then you just kind of control the game. This is either bracket 2 or bracket 3 in my opinion.
I could see someone trying to push it. It's mono blue though, so it's immediately stinted by like virtue of that fact. The vehicles you have flying. She's making the vehicles though, so is it that bad?
It's probably bracket 2, because I have trouble seeing a deck that's built into Yanling beating a bracket 4 deck.
Yeah, no, there's no way she's piloting her way to victory, despite being an actual pilot. Yeah, I think she could be pushed up to 2. Like, I think she's
definitely better than 1. You can actually build something with her, but the issue is her value engine is you need to get a board of other things. She does nothing by herself, at least, other than drawing 1 extra card a turn because of the vehicle. But drawing 1 extra card a turn and drawing a couple more isn't ridiculously strong. If this was whenever a flying creature you control deals combat damage, that's a 3 or a 4. But the fact that
One
it's a
or
limited
more.
2 and 1 or more.
Right. So at least she's not, completely useless when she hits. Like the vehicle you made can do the thing by itself. That's kind of cute. But it's to a player, so you could like hit multiple players and draw.
Timna, upwards of 3.
Yeah. So it's not. I mean, it's not horrible in that sense. It's just that you've got leaders like Timna, so just do that.
I want
All
to
right.
see if you pronounce this next one the same way I do, Patrick.
I don't know if anyone knows how to pronounce this next one. Did we hear Magic say it?
I
Okay.
believe so, and I have not gone into how they say it, but I've heard several people pronounce it, and they've pronounced it the way that I pronounce it.
I mean, I would think Vinwixt, verbosas.
Vinwixt.
Yeah.
Vinwixt is how a
Yeah.
lot of people pronounce it. They just put in I, so it's a
Yeah.
VIN.
Yeah.
Wixt.
That's cheating. We're putting a lot of eyes in here, like
Yeah.
Wixt. But yeah, it's fun when Wizards just comes up with names that aren't actual names. For a generic and a blue 04, it is though. It is though. Fantasy
If you look
World.
at if you look at Fibblethip, they put like people randomly put eyes in Fibblethip to make it
Mm.
pronounceable. They're doing the same thing with Vinwixt.
Drax got there too. It's hybrid vehicle flyer tribal. Yeah, I mean you could just have flyers in the deck too for Mu Yandling, but this is one
Yep.
that has a decent shot at being playable. I think we talked about this, but start your engines, max speed 4. Basically, when it comes into play, you get 1 speed, and then any damage that happens on if your opponent loses life during one of your turns, then you get to raise your speed. You have no maximum hand size, and if you're at max speed, which again is 4, if you would draw a card, draw 2 cards instead. Man.
I would probably put this at 4, only because there are so many good blue evasive value engine creatures that you can consistently hit max speed with him, and then from there you're gaining a ton of value, and your game plan is control out the game because you're drawing like 8 cards a turn, so
Yeah, my
highly
my
abusable.
my qualm is that like blue isn't known for burn or ping. I mean, is there like a early pinger? Isn't there like a wizard or something? At any rate,
Blue has like a mill as like an actual win con. Blue has just any kind of infinite mana
he's
combo with any kind of outlet. He
my
draws enough of your deck that I think that he will find you
here's my
however
issue.
complicated combo.
His stat line. I don't think I read his stat line. He's a 0/4. So it's like if you don't get your evasive creatures, if you don't find like anything that can just go sideways and hit someone, then he himself will not do that for you. So it's like, what are the ways outside of those creatures that you're going to reach max speed? Also, just note that getting to max speed, if you turn 1 this guy, that means you're going to need to wait turn 2, turn 3, turn 4. You'd be like active turn 4 or turn 5. Realistically, I don't know when he's active. It's gonna be very, very slow, and especially because he can't help you in this regard. So it's like I'm super iffy on him, dude. I think
You,
that you're maybe right. He could be pushed to a 4, and maybe there'll be a list, but I just don't. I wouldn't play him personally. I'm not gonna say he should be bracket 1, but
I will say that you consistently get him to max speed on turn 4 because if you have any kind of fast mana or if you just play 1-drop evaders, it's turn 1 play an evasive 1-drop. Like Spectral Sailor is probably the best example of something that draws you cards and is an evasive 1-drop. Then you turn 2 play Vinwixt, get to speed 1, attack with Spectral Sailor, get to speed 2, pass the turn on turn 2. Then turn 3 you get to 3, turn 4 you get to max speed. So you pretty consistently get to max speed with Vinwixt, and from there you have a Fairy Mastermind, Heuristic Study, whatever the heck you want to do to make yourself stay at a high hand size. Even looters are now up 1s instead of down 1s. So loot effects like Unctus would make it so that you're netting like upwards of 10
do
cards
you
a
play
turn.
the start your engine lands in this deck? I mean, I guess because it's mono
Probably.
blue, because you can probably get away with it. I don't remember seeing any, ETB raise your speed by 1. I don't think there was any in blue, if there were any at all. But that's what I would want to see. Like, I want to cheat this out quickly. in quicker than turn 4, because as it is right now, that seems to be the earliest we can get there. Also, when a start your engine card hits the field, it doesn't add to your speed. It's just it puts it to 1 if it wasn't at 1, and then that's it. So it's a little frustrating to race speed. I'm not gonna lie, having played the pre-release, it was difficult to get to max speed in a lot of instances, at least in 1v1. Maybe in a commander setting there will be more options, but I don't know. Sure, Will, if you want to put him at 4, I mean, I feel like people are kind of excited for this one. We can put him at 4. I don't think he's second.
I put him at 4 because people have already built versions of this deck that compete with cEDH decks. Like, it's already competing against cEDH. So I'm like, I think it's just barely out of cEDH because he by himself does nothing, but he competes with cEDH pretty well. So
Would you retire your Urza to play this, or would you just play Urza?
They're completely different decks in my opinion.
Yeah, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's mono blue. You're a mono blue player. You're like, oh shit, there's a new mono blue legendary I could play. Do I play the one that's on the game changer list, or do I play this one?
This is honestly probably better than Urza, only because it gets around the issue that Urza has of, dang, I have no cards in hand, what do I do from here? I guess I hope I top deck. This is just play every potentially decent draw effect deck. And also, I want to say, most underrated line on this card is you have no max hand size.
Till it gets
Being
killed.
able to have 10 cards in hand in a cEDH game is dumb.
Till he gets killed. And I mean, at least his butt is pretty big, so he's not going to die to damage as easily, but, you know.
I mean, who's going to kill him because he dies and then you just replay him from the command zone and you already are at presumably max speed, so you don't care that he died.
Yeah. I mean, you still need him out for the effect, but yeah. He's fine. Proliferate.
Proliferate does not work because you don't have speed counters. It is just a marker, kind of like Ascension, where if you hit 10, you have the City's Blessing. It's it's a marker. It's not counters. If it did work with counters, that's gross.
Yeah, that would be really cool. Sadly, it doesn't work that way. But we're moving on to black now. Gaunty Knight Minister. I want to fight a Vinwix. Bring your Vinwix out, please. Gaunty Knight Minister. Like, I would be happy to see Vinwix. I would be like, shit, thank God.
I also forgot to say the I forgot to say the joke of Vinwix, which is, welcome to the amazing digital circus!
Yeah, 100% getting
it's
the vibes.
It feels like Kane.
They're just like, let's just lose the giant, like, Clattermouth and, like, go with an eye instead. But yeah. It's 100% giving me that. It's a Baron von Count. It's a state-based, for anyone wondering. Yeah. State-based. State-based action. Thank you, Mike. Gaunty, Knight Minister, for 2 generic, double black, 3/4, Aetherborn Rogue. Whenever a player casts a spell they don't own, that player creates a treasure token. Huh? Okay, well, there's only so many Praetor's Grasp, right? Whenever a creature deals combat damage to one of your opponents, its controller looks at the top card of that opponent's library and exiles it face down. They may play that card for as long as it remains exiled. Mana of any type can be spent to cast this. Okay. You get the idea. So creatures.
Mono black Edric.
Yeah, it's also it's kind of cute. Like, it's encouraging your opponents to not attack you. You're like, yeah, don't worry about my ad nauseum. Worry about them. It's this is okay. I feel like you could do something with this, but making treasure tokens as a benefit of stealing people's cards, the fact that this is like group slug, it's cute. I would say that this is like B2. You could probably do something with this.
I think it's probably in 3, only because it has a clear enough game plan and a clear enough value engine that it could probably beat a B4 deck. But it's iffy because the entire point of your deck is you're playing it probably more likely than not just things that make a whole bunch of 1/1 tokens, and then you're milling people out by punching them, and everybody else is doing the same. Combos are going to constantly be disrupted by this deck. It's going to make it so that people will always have mana up for the interaction that they stole from everybody else. It leads to the kind of setup that I lead to try to do in my Ludwig Livio deck of put in a rule of law and then make it so everybody has a hand so that everyone has a counterspell. This kind of does the same thing, but less efficiently and with less colors. So I think that this is probably a 3, because I think it's stronger than a precon, but I would not put this in 4 by any stretch of the imagination.
I don't think I would put it in 3 either. So Whoopsbane says Smooth Brain EDH put Gonti at a 1 on the Zur scale. The Zur scale. It's more of a meme deck. What the fuck the Zur scale is. Important line here is mana of any type, not any color. Did I say any color? If I did, I'm sorry. Take that, Eldrazi. I mean, couldn't you use like Eldrazi spawns to like make colorless to just play the things? I mean, that's kind of cool. Conceptually that does work a little differently. Yeah. I'm having terrible flashbacks where every single player was playing my deck while I did nothing. I don't see many cards going into B2, if I'm going to be frank with you. I feel like this is just as powerful as Mu Yanling.
There's a good amount that I think are going to be going into B2 once we hit multicolor, but I think that
here
this is
I'll leave it
ever so slightly better than Mu Yangling because it disrupts your opponent's game plans and draws you more cards. But we can put it in 2 if you want to put it in 2.
No. We're gonna, you guys in the audience, this is why we do these live. Gonti, yeah. Night Minister. Well, it's good to know that people want more dogs. No one gives a shit about cats or dragons. Got it. Is this B3? Is this B2? And is this B1? Remember, B1 is beef and broccoli tonight. B2 is our seafood special, and B3 is mystery. So
yeah, B3 is relatively strong but not high power. B2 is a precon, and B1 is a joke deck. Like Ladies Looking Left Tribal is the one that I like to go for. They need to figure out what they're going to call B1, because when I saw they put Dragon Tribal in B1 and +1/+1 counter decks in B1, I'm like,
counters are good.
No sense. Yeah,
counters are really good. Like Hardened Scales, that shit. Like multiply every dude. Counters are some of the best. Like I feel like I won most of my sealed games for Aetherborn because some of my shit had like decent manipulation. Oh, I'm sorry. No. Bloomborough. I had Bloomborough here too. We played some Bloomborough. The counter manipulation game is the best game. At any rate, but then again, that's in a limited setting. What the fuck do I know? B1 is jank. You could say that.
I wouldn't even call B1 jank because I call my $7 Society deck a janky deck, but they marked it as B2 deck. If it's janky but it works, it's B2. Right. But if it's janky for the sake of being janky, it's B1.
I do believe like Architect and Moxfield are using the new bracket system, so you could actually check where your decks are at if you want. But I don't know what system they're using to figure that out. If you're playing Miram or Dragon calling it B1, I'm going to reach across the table and slap you. Marath says differently when it comes to 1/1 counters, exactly. So, yeah. But what does Calyx Scion Hunger Tyrant say for a generic and double black 7/2 body and some delicious flavor text?
Tis a crocodile. Crocodile is good boy. Give me Crocodile Tribal. This is a B1.
Yeah. For the Swamp Queen. Ooh, I would love it if Dochi made her way into Magic. The Speed Demon. 3 generic. I did pull this card too. This is kind of cool. 3 generic, double black, 5/5 demon, flying trample. Start your engines at the beginning of your. You know why I like this guy? He didn't care about max speed. At the beginning of your end step, you draw X cards and lose X life, where X is your speed. This is actually a decent value mander. Like, for me, you could build around this fairly easily. If you want to do Start Your Engine Tribal, maybe this is the guy. He's flying. You're going to get the damage. It's good. It's not bad. I don't know. Is it any better than a precon? I bet you could make a mono black version of this guy at a B3.
This is more of like a precon. I think that you could build this at 3, but more likely than not, this is going to be a 2, just because it draws cards and makes you lose a little bit of life, but it draws cards and that's its whole thing. I don't think this is bad.
This is better than Gonti. This is better than Gonti. Come on.
Gonti draws you more and disrupts people's
Does Gonti
gameplay.
draw you more? Does
Yeah,
Gonti really draw you more?
I mean,
Whenever
yeah, if you're
Kujira's
making
conjuring
like a
one of
whole
your
bunch of
opponents? So you're saying
it,
that your cats or your dogs, Gonti dogs, you're saying that your dogs is
no,
strike your
Bat
opponent?
Tribal. Gonti is the Batman.
Gonti would be the bat man.
um,
Sure.
but because to compete with the Speed Demon, Gonti just needs to connect with 4 creatures. So you can just make tokens. You can make a whole bunch of rats. You can make a whole bunch of bats. You can make a
I
whole
don't
bunch of
see
Cat
you
in the Hat.
making that's bias is bullshit. I don't see you hitting 3 opponents in mono black that easily. Like over a dude that could just come in and hit people. I don't know, man.
I mean, what
Actually,
has
this
the
will draw you more if you're at max speed. How about that? This will always draw you more if you're at max speed. And we
no?
all agreed that Vinwix will draw you more. Well, we'll get to max speed easily. I feel like this
Yeah.
shit could get there.
I think Speed Demon is getting to max speed easily. My issue with Speed Demon is it's getting to max speed. Let's see, gets to 2 on turn 5, then 6, then 7. So it's getting to max speed on turn 7. I think that it's still getting to max speed easily, but with Gonti, you can draw like 6 cards a turn off of Gonti if you use any of the effects that just kind of give Anthem evasion to your things. Because they have the black spell that just says name a creature, type creatures you control that type have fear. There's like a couple random colorless things that can goad. I think Gonti's like a 2 or a 3. Speed Demon is like a 2. I think Speed Demon is good. It's just that Gonti is like a little bit more disruption than Speed Demon, which is the reason I like Gonti a little bit more. But I think Speed Demon is still good. There is no way I would put Speed Demon in a
Here,
1.
here's my issue. No. Yeah, but I agree with that. At most, let's just work out the math here. You get to make treasures. At most, if you have 3 creatures, well, whatever 8 creature, it's not 1 or more. Okay,
Yeah,
so yeah,
if
you can hit
person
one
with 8
guy.
things, you get 8. Yeah.
Okay, but you're also giving your opponent's value. Is that good? I don't know, man. I weigh that negatively. Like if my opponents net 7 cards between themselves off turn and I net 8, that just feels like a net positive of 1. Like if we're all doing the thing, is anyone really benefiting?
Well,
Like
I do want to say they're not milling you. They're milling or they're drawing off their opponent's decks. And if you're drawing off of somebody else's
your mono
deck,
black deck has shit. They're not
no,
gonna
no.
wanna,
If
they're not gonna hit your
they
shit
don't get
anyway.
anything. They
Yeah,
don't get anything if they hit you.
Yeah, they don't get you don't get your fatal push. They don't get your.
Well, no,
What are they gonna get
don't.
off the black deck?
Like,
I
yeah,
know what you're saying. Like, but like they don't even want to target you anyways. Is what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
it's like the fact that it says opponents is not alluring to me, because it's like who's gonna swing at the mono black deck anyways? Outside of the fact that you're maybe concerned that they're gonna use life as a resource. Yeah. The Speed Demon is better Blood Gift Demon. Speed Demon is better Blood Gift Demon. Okay, so look, I could argue that the Speed Demon can be in B2 as well. But I feel like I would have more fun with the Speed Demon, I guess, is what it's basically at. Sorry, we've been on black for a while. I'll end the poll for Gonti real quick.
What I'm saying for Gonti though is historically when we had cards that let people draw off of other people's decks, it completely disrupts game plans, and then it makes it so that people have more removal and more like draws and searchability. So giving people other cards, it disrupts the person whose deck is getting drawn from really badly, and then it's not advancing anybody's gameplay. It usually just gives interaction.
You know what's interesting though? What I will say, they can play the card as long as it remains in exile. So this is cute. I feel like this will cause more chaos than anything else, and will likely be the target of removal more than anything else. I feel like this is tiresome. Like the fact that you're gaining treasures is kind of cute. If you can gain a treasure off of someone's counterspell, that's even better. I don't know that this, like you're saying, it doesn't really aid anyone's game. I don't know, like this feels a little memey to me. Who said that this is tier 1? Who said that?
No, bracket 1.
Bracket 1.
It looks like no one voted bracket 1 at least.
But
somebody previously brought up that it was bracket 1 on the Zur list or something.
Right. Or that would be tier 1. Smooth Brain says Gonti. See, I could see that because like I don't see how this works. I don't see how this functionally works. Like it seems really disruptive and really bad. for everyone, but it also just feels really bad. People don't like it when they take their cards, I guess. I mean, like, I'm not even thinking about feel bads here. Gonti's a weird one. I'm sorry, we can move on. But
Gonti is just like weird mill that gives everybody interaction. I'm willing to put it on a 2. I think it could be higher, but I'm willing to agree that it's more likely
it
than
could
not
be
a 2.
lower. It could be lower.
It is not a 1. It is very playable, but it's not I can agree that it may not be a 3.
Let's do
But Duretti.
Rocketeer.
Yeah, Duretti Rocketeer Engineer. 4 in red for a legendary creature, Goblin Artificer. Duretti with star power 5 toughness.
Yeah.
Duretti's power is equal to the greatest mana value among artifacts you control. Whenever Duretti enters the battlefield or attacks, choose target artifact card in your graveyard. If you do, sacrifice an artifact and return the chosen card to the battlefield. So, this is just a reusable trash for treasure, and I like it. I don't think this is like super efficient, but I do like it. People have thought about brewing this as like a cEDH-esque deck where you just get back high value artifacts, where you just keep flipping in things like a Portal to Phyrexia. There are kind of better value engines or better stacks engines that you can try to use, but not really in red. I would say that this is maybe a 4, but it's probably closer to a 3.
I think we got to look at what parts of the color pie these guys exist in. Like, to me, the actual highest a monocolored legendary could go is like 4.
Hey, are you insulting your Oswald?
I am insulting my Oswald. I think Magda and Godo are some of the best things you can do in red still. And I would put them at a 4 because they are limited. There are games where they just brick. I've faced plenty of Magdas that just can't do shit because they're like, oh man, I did not draw anything. And it's like, okay, yeah, if your commander did,
You're saying
draw,
Magda and Godo aren't cEDH decks?
I'm saying that they're cEDH playable and likely high powered with how the brackets are set up.
The thing is,
high powered.
You're trying to say that you would play a cEDH Godo deck against a leveled up precon. That would just pub stomp a level up.
B5
that's it. If you're putting it in bracket 4,
bracket
you're saying
4,
that it
bracket
lose
4
regularly
is
to bracket 3. Like it will lose reasonably to bracket 3.
Oh my god. So bracket 4 is how'd you explain it? Upgraded precon. That's so upgraded precon.
Bracket 3 is an upgraded precon. Bracket 4 is high power level, but without a clean way to win the game. Or
my thing is like I don't know that bracket 3 and bracket 4 the way this is why this is a beta. The way they've organized it, like you're limited to game changers in bracket 3, and you're not in 4. So really, and goes back to what I was saying during that live stream. B4 and B5 are not that different to me because they're the same restrictions in that they're uncapped and it's just whatever the fuck you want plus not the banned list. So to me, it's the derivation between you have something that's really good but is locked into a small set of the color pie, and then you have something that's really good that has access to everything. And yes, the thing that's going to have access to everything is better 100% of the time. There's no questioning a 5-color deck is going to always be better than a 1-color deck. I'm sorry. Doesn't matter what you're doing. Doesn't matter what you're doing. You could pull the tits. We've got videos of people pulling the tits on Godo on this channel. That's fine. It's a B4. It's a B4. Because half the time, you won't pull the tits. Like, you can mull down to 4 and have nothing. And I've seen that too. But it's like, I feel like B4 and B5 are so damn close that it doesn't matter. Like, I would say that they're the same thing. But that's really just me being favorable. I think that monocolor decks and dual color decks probably slot into B4 unless they do something really special. And like Kinnan, he's one of those Wonder Boys. I would put him in B5. But monocolor decks, I can't be that favorable. I don't see this being better than Magda or Godo. I could see this being in B3.
So the issue is the entire point of the bracket system is not the restrictions in that they listed out in the like whole chunks in the the lists.
The game
it's the descriptions at the top. The descriptions at the top are what identify them between the different brackets, and then the lists underneath them are just kind of guidelines to describe what they mean by the descriptions up top. So the difference between bracket 4 is a high-powered deck that has a clear game plan and is designed to try to build to something strong and efficiently, whereas cEDH is a deck that is designed to win as quickly and efficiently as possible. So the difference between B5 and B4 is B4 may expect to win on like turn 8, and they consider that like reasonable, like an average game. But B5 would say turn 4 is an average game.
Hold up. Hold up.
We can pull up the article.
I mean, I don't want to make this a part of the video, but
yeah. Well, this is the first time doing it. If we're gonna do it at any point, we do it now.
right. So, high power commander, it's time to go wild. Oh my god, we're going wild. Is that the part you're talking about?
They had descriptions as well in the article, which I can do like a quick synopsis.
Yeah, we'll look at optimized real quick, because this is optimized. Here's the thing, like people bring optimized decks to cEDH tournaments all the time, and because it's been the Wild West for so long, it really has been at tournaments. I fought shit that probably doesn't, like, I would never expect to see at a cEDH table, and having one thing that's bracket 2, having one thing that's bracket 4, having one guy that's bracket 5, and then having like one pre-constructed deck, it throws games completely. Especially, like, there's so many factors that go into this. Your deck is really only one. If I'm going to look solely at a deck piloted by the best person, I think it's easier to place them. But so far as they're concerned, bring out your strongest deck. You can expect to see explosive starts, strong tutors, cheap combos, end games, mass land destruction. I don't really see mass land destruction. Deck full of cards of game changers, maybe mass land denial. Like you'll maybe see like a winter orb or some shit. But this is high powered commander. The games have potentially end quickly, right? So quickly is like turn 1, turn 2, turn 3. The focus here is on bringing the best version of your deck you want to play, but not one built around tournament metagame. So yes, you could play Duretti, the best version of Duretti. It's about shuffling.
What they define as quickly for bracket 4, or at least what most people identify as quickly, is like turn 7. Turn 7 is considered like a quick game of Commander a lot of the time.
Turn 7's the late game. No.
Turn 7's the mid game.
No, that's so.
Most
what they labeled as late game, if we look at this bracket system, if you see late game 2-card infinite combos, verbatim, Gavin was saying late game is turn 7 and onward. So mid game would be anything between 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, so, well, even if you want to classify that as late game, for cEDH, late game is turn 4.
Sure. I mean, yeah, I guess it operates on a scale, but like, frankly, we're all working off the same scale now, and they say late game is 7. So for me, late game is 7. For you, late game is 7. If you want to ignore this, it doesn't matter. Late game is 7. So right now, I mean, I'm just going off of what they literally said. And so if this is what the bracket system is, that's what late game is. If you're on turn, what is this, bracket 3? You can't do 2-card combos till the late game. I don't know. What's Duretti doing? What's Duretti doing late game? And so this is obviously in beta. We're clearly working with it as it stands. If you want to know my opinion on the bracket system, I think B4 and B5 could just be the same thing, because there is like a range of like cEDH potential legendaries. I don't think your monocolored list is going to be as effective as a list with every single card in the game. I don't believe that.
Well, I'm sticking with what I said for Duretti of it may be a 4, but I'd probably say it's a 3.
I would say, well, it's okay. So yeah, exactly. But you're saying the way we should be looking at this, and I don't disagree with Will, is the idea, if it's in said bracket, can it punch up and win games? So if this was like in B3, could it punch up and beat a high-powered, uncranked deck? Like if this had 3 game changers, could it beat your bracket 4s? Which is kind of unfair to say, because, I mean, if you looked at the game changer list on here, it's a ton of shit. Like it's like this Duretti doesn't get to have all of those colorless. Just look at the color list, because red is kind of minuscule. But look at all the colorless cards. And this is part of the
fast mana.
Yeah, and this is only part of the game changer list. I think they started with 40 cards, so it was easier. I don't know, dude. I don't know that this guy's got the juice in B3 to beat B4.
The reason why people think that can beat the reason why people think that this can beat cEDH theoretically is you can ramp into him with rituals, discard really high cost stuff, and then sacrifice treasures, clues, whatever, to consistently get out all of the most annoying and powerful artifacts really quickly. So people think it could be cEDH because of that. I don't agree with that. I think that it might be able to be considered a bracket 4, but I personally think it's a bracket 3 because I don't see this beating cEDH other than like once on a blue moon. But I think that this can beat the decks, the janky decks that beat cEDH decks.
So 3.
Yeah, 3.
Okay. You could get there, Duretti, one day. Hezeret Godseeker. I was going.
Also, I was going to say Goblin Artificer. Everybody's favorite goblin archetype.
This feels like a world that Duretti belongs in, though. Like, raceways. Yeah, it's cool, though. Enters attacks, choose an artifact card in your graveyard. It's basically like the welders and stuff. It's fine. It's not bad. On ETB is pretty legit, though. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. This is like the leveled up version of the Planeswalker, because the Planeswalker is you have to pay loyalty to get back something of that cost in loyalty. This is like, I don't care. I toss that treasure, I get back the biggest thing from my graveyard.
Yeah,
probably a portal to Phyrexia.
Right. We don't really have, outside of Gamble, we don't really have an Entomb, do we? No.
Goblin Engineer.
Oh yeah. He could plant anything too. It doesn't have to be the 3. So it's not bad. There's 2 ways. There's 2 potential ways. Hezeret Godseeker for generic and a red legendary creature god. 5/3 indestructible haste. Start your engines. Oh shit. Pay 1 tap. Target creature with power 2 or less can't block this turn. Okay. Hezeret can't attack or block unless you have max speed. Okay, so Hezeret's gonna help someone else out. Hezeret's a bro like that. Actually, that seems like what God should be doing, right?
Yeah, gods are bros except for the dicks.
The grow is the welder is a -3 ability. Oh.
It's -3. It's not -X. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not bad. I still think that this Duretti. Well, I'm gonna favor it because it has Rocketeer in the title, and that's my favorite Disney movie. So I like that one better. Tier 5 or B5. Hezeret Godseeker though, this seems like B1.
Probably B1. There's maybe something fun that you could do with like just constantly board wiping and punching with a 5/3, but it's probably just B1.
I think we could just casually throw his ass in there because he's not gonna compete with the Mu Yanlings of the world.
Yeah.
But Tyrox though, this spicy little boy.
Just say most metal name out of any other legendary on this entire list. Tyrox sounds like a guy that you do not want to mess with.
Yeah, dude, and the alliteration, Sara Tyrant, Tyrox the Tyrant. This dude.
Unfortunately, he is the guy that everybody's gonna mess with ping effects because he's a vanilla 4/1.
Yeah, I guess he has an Achilles scale. He's a 4/1 dinosaur warrior. But like, honestly, actually, I want to do Tyrox tribal people with explosions in the background. Yeah. It's just the coolest looking deck. Everything's like a Michael Bay.
Explosion tribal. You play cards like Blockbuster that no one would ever play under any reasonable circumstance. I cringe every single time I think about the card Blockbuster because I thought, oh, this card's kind of decent first time I read it, and then I realized, oh, it doesn't say sacrifice a creature. It says sacrifice itself to deal 3 damage to everything. It's a 7 mana enchantment that Wrath of Gods, but it doesn't exile the things it kills.
Ooh. Wait. Sacrifice Blockbuster. Blockbuster deals 3 damage to each tapped creature and each player. That's not horrible.
That is 7 mana to wipe the board.
Well, it's playable in my Tyrox deck.
Indeed.
Yeah. Anything with explosions, but specifically if it's a creature card, it needs to be a creature with an explosion behind it.
Yeah.
And Tyrox, you go into 1. And slightly better than Hezeret, in my opinion. Nissa, World Soul Speaker. 3 generic, that's a lie. Hezeret's probably better. Don't ask me how or why. 3/3 landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, get 2 energy. You may pay 8 energy rather than pay the mana cost of permanent spells you cast.
Uh,
Uh,
you can do energy stuff. You get value off of ramping. I don't think this competes with cEDH, but I think there is a version of this deck that competes with cEDH, and it's a Turbo Cultivator Colossus list because you can get energy by just ramping with Nissa, play Cultivator Colossus for 8 energy, then get 36 energy and the best cards from your deck in your hand and try to win off of that. There is a world where you can make Nissa into a deck that can compete with cEDH. More likely than not, I think this is a 3.
if she said, whenever a land enters the battlefield, make 2 energy and draw a card.
That would be cEDH if she said that. The
Whoa.
landfall draw a card? Oh my gosh.
Why the tentacly boy that low? Who are we talking about? Stop.
We're talking about the octopus?
Stop. You talking about that? Wait, I just realized he's got, man, why did I not realize this? He has 8 tentacles, like most octopus.
Yeah.
No, he's got 8 defense, man. One defense per tentacle. I don't know why that went over my head. It's early for me in that. It's really not that early. Heresy. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. Nissa, World Soul Speaker, she's definitely a 2 for me.
I think she's a 3 because I think that she does actually just stomp a lot of precons.
You think she could do better than a Duretti? Can she beat a Duretti?
Yeah, because she cheats out. Like, if you want to go in the most casual way that you can with Nissa, you're cheating in all of the Eldrazi Titans by just ramping in general. Like, you're getting one Eldrazi off of casting it, and then one Eldrazi off of paying energy.
Right. Yeah, and it is still the cast. So I mean, if you really look at this, like Will was saying, any of your land ramp effects, but also just like a fetch land entering and then cracking the fetch land gets you 4. So it's like you're halfway there with one fetch land. And again, like fetch lands aren't in the game changer list or anything, so you can have any many of these you want. Shit. No, sure. I will. I'm gonna agree. I already agree with you. I think that we could probably. I kind of want to fuck with this build. It seems cool.
I want to pitch the most like horrendous idea that you can do with Nissa. Kodama of the East Tree. Get a fetch land into play, get another fetch land into play, crack both of them, getting more lands into play. Use the mana that you have to play one Eldrazi Titan, getting another Eldrazi Titan into play, casting 2 Eldrazi Titans for free off of the Nissa, getting 2 more Eldrazi Titans into play. You just got 6 Eldrazi into play off of nothing.
Don't we need these in hand, though?
Yes, you do.
So, like, what if you build all of this shit up and then you're like, I'll use 8 energy to cast Birds of Paradise. Like,
0 mana for Birds of Paradise. It's still a marketable improvement.
Stop. You're like, yeah, that's powerful.
I think at that point you just hold up the energy and just wait.
You see your opponent do that with a smile on his face. It's like, yeah, this is powerful magic. You're like, okay, man. Yeah, dude, you do you. You do you. On top of that on the stack, can I add nauseum really quick?
I think the most powerful thing you do with this Nissa though is probably Cultivator Colossus, just because you get like a ton of lands into play and then draw into all of your non-land cards. So,
I do agree though on like the Eldrazi angle. It sounds super fun.
Yeah,
because I've wanted a good energy deck for a while, and like this might be a decent legendary for it. We've got other energy legendaries from Fallout that you could fool with too, but.
My friend had an Aetherworks Marvel deck with Silas and Togo for a bit, but he's rotating away from that, and I think he's going to build Nissa, and his win con, his like combo to win the game is going to be, I think it's no, I can't remember the name of it. It's the artifact that you imprint an artifact when it enters the battlefield, and you can pay X and tap this to put in the artifact, a copy of the artifact that cost X into play.
Yeah, it's the 5 mnemonic scepter.
It's the thing that looks like a ball with like 2 rings going around it in the art. I can find that card pretty easily, but you put a Gonti's Aetherheart underneath it, and Gonti's Aetherheart is pay 8 energy and exile to take an extra turn. When an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 2 energy. So you just use that with Nissa to chain infinite extra turns together if you want to do that. So he's making a bracket for Nissa. But I think Nissa's probably going to be bracket 3 more than anything.
I mean, you mean on its top end? Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, you could build a bracket for Nissa. There's a couple ways that you could do it. I think more likely than not, it's going to be bracket 3 though,
But how
because
about
that is using Nissa solely to just get energy and then do all of the good energy stuff that is maybe bracket 4. If you're actually playing into Nissa, it's probably going to be more bracket 3.
yeah, she seems okay. We might build her. We'll do like a bracket 3 version though. Avia Automech Artisan. 3 generic, 1 green. And I want to say, just as we move along here, I think bracket 3 is the most interesting for me to build in. It's like the perfect middle ground.
Yeah.
Plus, it kind of limits the amount of effective Magic the Gathering cards you can use. So, you know, I feel like between the through line I'm finding here is that you should just buy all the true jewels and fetch lands if you haven't yet. Sorry. But like you could use those in every single one of these tiers. It doesn't matter. So
Yeah.
if you don't own like all the true duels or whatever, or just proxy them, it doesn't matter. Each creature that's attacking one of your opponents has trample.
That is the most petty line I've ever seen on a card, by the way, and I love that.
Yeah, she's like that. She's 1/2, by the way. You can pay a green tapper. You may put a creature or vehicle card from your hand onto the battlefield. If you put an artifact on the battlefield this way, put up to 2 1/1 counters on it. So if an artifact creature and or a vehicle obviously is an artifact. So if you were to accrue it, it's +2/+2. This is really sick. It's just better Elvish Piper. I mean, talk about power creep. This is why is it on the same rarity as Elvish Piper? It just doesn't make sense. Like it's a really good card is what I'm saying. And I like it. Obviously this is good. Obviously having access to this off the get-go is good. Like even if you're not doing some combination line like Nissa to cheat in an Eldrazi by casting it, which is obviously better, you could just put the biggest, dumbest things on the board just for 1 green. And then obviously like the trample your opponents is kind of legit. I mean, it really, in my mind, that really only benefits people that might have blockers. It'll benefit like the Tymna that wouldn't otherwise get past like whatever 1/1s or, you know, 0/1 thralls that are being whatever. It's like, I don't know that I necessarily like the top line of text. I would rather like, you know, people have valid blocks and not have any damage assignable after them. But I do like the bottom effect here quite a bit. I would love to build for this. Obviously, there are combos here. Great Oak Guardian, like any of the stuff you would do in Sovala, mass untap, mass mana production, yada yada, and then you just cheat in creatures. And the good bit of news is that, you know, all of your creatures are very accessible in mono green. There's a lot of tutors, a lot of ways to find creatures. The only issue is, you know, you don't have an effective draw engine here like you would with a Sovala, but you can do combo lines with her. So I would say she's B3 at most. I don't really think that she's going to see cEDH play because it's even rough for the mono green decks that, you know, try to, like a Shaya, Savala, maybe a handful of Marwins out there.
I think that Ovia is probably like either very low end of B4 or B3. So we can put Ovia on B3. The only reason why I think Ovia is B4 potentially is because you have clear value lines where you're just cheating in all of your best things so you don't have to care about mana costs, and you have at least a clear enough combo line of utilize big creatures and untap effects to use Ovia enough times to either build a massive board or to go infinite with like Great Oak Guardian Team or Sabretooth and enough dorks to tap for 3 mana.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Ovia could be 4, but I think that Ovia is more than 3.
Yeah, I feel like she just needs a lot of support is all.
I think she's just barely enough for a 4, but I'm willing to put Ovia into a 3.
Well, honestly, I feel like she would stomp in 3 because she doesn't like the game changers. The game changers for her, if you didn't notice, Gaia's Cradle is moved to this list, which means it could potentially be banned as well. But as it stands, if she was B3, you would only be accessible to 3 of these things. She only needs so many of these things, and she's like effective. Being in mono green, obviously, she only has access to this pile here. So I'd probably take Survival of the Fittest to get rid of dorks to find my biggest thing. I would probably take Gaia's Cradle And then I would also probably take maybe Ancient Tomb of these. If not, shit, you kind of need the one. You kind of need draw. Actually,
I'm
it's weird.
you know
It's I actually haven't really. I honestly haven't built for these brackets. Will, what? Okay, let's say Avia's just as a thought experiment. Let's say Avia is bracket 3. What are the 3 game changers you're taking?
uh probably Guy's Cradle, Survival of the Fittest, and
Mana
one
acceleration, right?
one yeah, one of the mana accelerants.
Right,
Because
but
Survival of the Fittest is just really good because you just need 2 creatures to end the game with a Via, and
mm.
Guy's Cradle is Guy's Cradle. It's the best mana accelerant that you can use
So,
in green.
and I have a question for you guys because I know this card's complained a lot. It's important to note that any card on the game changer list is notable for potential banning. So this is like, it's weird that this is a watch list, equally so a guide list for deck building, because that's essentially what this is. And it's only relevant for one bracket. But I hear this card complained about so much. The One Ring. Should Post Malone sell his 1 of 1 copy now before it's banned? Or should he just hold on to it? Is what I'm saying. And Post Malone, I'm interested.
I
I just
can't
can't
remember if I
spend.
had this conversation with you or with one of my friends, but I think it was with my buddies, and they pretty much described it because I was like, I mean, Posty's going to be the most annoyed if the One Ring gets banned, and all of my friends kind of said, I don't think so, because that card is just a piece of Magic the Gathering history.
Oh, the One Ring, the fact that it came to be, it's one of the cool. I mean, that set is one of the best selling sets in Magic history, if not the best selling. And then obviously the One Ring is such a cool piece of like iconography from fantasy fiction. Like I want to be able to use it. It's specifically because my list is piloted towards using it. So I would actually actively care. But it's complained about so much. It's just like they were talking about cards that homogenize the game, and pretty much every list kind of wants to find it to just leverage it. I don't know, man. At any rate, it's a good card. Hopefully it doesn't get banned. The One Ring still has modern and legacy potential. Mm-hmm.
Agreed,
Do you
but
think?
I think even if it gets banned in every format,
And that's
it's Posty's card is not going to lose any monetary value.
and to answer the question, do you think Cradle might get banned from the Game Changer list? This is kind of why I hate the fact that the Game Changer list operates this way. I would prefer a solid separate list that says these are the cards on the Game Changer list we're considering being banned. Like, I need to know, because I would hate to go out of my way to buy Imperial Seal right now to find all of the mana efficient tutors are banned now. Right? Because there's still that feeling, because this is an operable list. Like, we're actively using this to build bracket 3 decks, but then it's also the list that says these will go away. So like, there's still that uncertainty that I don't really know what's going to stay here. So I don't want to go out of my way to buy the Guy's Cradle now. Again, I kind of hate that I sold mine, but I don't want to go out of my way to buy it now thinking it could be banned. But also, I don't know that it would. It would. It obviously makes your bracket 3 list really powerful. So I don't know. I don't know if it's up. Would you say it should be banned? It's like,
The One Ring potentially could be banned, but from what it looks like Wizards is going to be doing, they're trying to make the ban list as small as possible and trying to keep the Game Changer list relatively small as well. But I feel like the Game Changer list is going to be a massive list at some point. But if you look at what we talked about, what we think is going to stay banned, I think that a lot of the stuff on the Game Changer list is going to stay on the Game Changer list just forever, and it's not going to get banned. But I think I think the only potential 2 things on the Game Changer list right now that could be banned is Thassa's Oracle and the One Ring. I think those are the only 2 that might get banned in the future.
yeah, Thoracle's kind of a dumb card that the meta is warped around. It's just like a way to conclude games. And oh, I got to use OK tutor and bad tutor, tainted demonic, plus this one card. Okay. Right? So it makes decks 96 instead of 99, more or less, if they happen to be in Dimir. But yeah, I don't disagree with Will. But Guy's Cradle, do you think? Okay. Will kind
Guys,
of
Cradle's
answered your
fine.
question. Yeah, he kind of answered the question. That's a lot of cards for a watch list. Yeah, but that's exactly what they said. They're like, we're aware that these cards are really strong, and then that some of these might get banned. But I don't. I would love some clarification on that. Actually, Wizards, like, can you just give us? Can you highlight some of these in yellow instead, and just let us know which are
I would
particularly
like
bad? Right? Wouldn't it be nice to be like, white is clear, it's just a game changer. Yellow is, we're watching this. This should probably be banned because the feedback we're getting. At any rate, I'm sorry. I moved our mono green World Tyrant to 1 because I want to move on to Mendicant. Do you want to go over this one, Will?
Yeah. Well, for Tyrant is probably the best
Oh,
Tarian is probably the best of the tyrants, just because it's in green. They have we care about power stuff,
it's an
but it's
ooze.
still a one.
Yeah. Dinosaur ooze.
So Mendicant, and this is a card I have brewed and I'm building for bracket for, so I already have my
Really?
personal bias on this.
Wow.
So Mendicant, Core Guide Light. First off, other than being a Star Wars fan, he is also a one white, one blue, star 3 legendary artifact creature robot. Mendicant's power is equal to the number of artifacts you control. Start your engines. Max speed. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, you may pay 1. If you do, copy it. Mendicant is really good for 2 specific reasons. One, KCI. Mendicant has, because of the max speed effect, has the cleanest KCI lines out of any other KCI commander, but that is if you hit max speed. But you can kind of, if you're playing cEDH or playing against cEDH decks, you can usually guarantee with a 3 toughness thing with a ridiculous amount of power, people are just going to let you get through because they don't want to sacrifice their creatures. So I think you can hit max speed well enough with Mendicant, and the turn you get max speed, you're probably ending the game. And for those who don't know, the reason why Mendicant is really good is you can completely cut Scrap Trawler out of KCI lines. From here on out, you can use either Ashnod's Altar or KCI, either one kind of works, and let's use Mirror Retriever as the example. You pay 2 for Mirror Retriever. You pay an additional 1 for the copy of Mirror Retriever. Sacrifice the original Mirror Retriever and get back anything that you think is relevant. Let's say a Vexing Bauble. Then you sacrifice the Mirror Retriever token, getting back Mirror Retriever. Now you repeat that again, making infinite mana, use the Vexing Bauble, sacrifice the Vexing Bauble, getting you infinite draw, and then you draw your entire deck while constantly recurring it with the Mirror Retriever loop. So you cut off pretty much Mendicant is Mendicant and KCI or Ashnod's Altar plus any Mirror Retriever effect equals game. It's the smoothest KCI lines that we have. I don't think it's a 5 by any stretch of the imagination because KCI is not a 5, but he can get you a ton of value because the copy effect will just let you double up draw effects and give you a whole bunch of other options, and he gives you smoother KCI lines. So he kind of, if the meta was slower in cEDH, he would probably be a cEDH deck, but because we have better win lines, KCI is not viable in cEDH.
Yeah, but you can have the one ring twice for a moment.
Yes, you get that one draw, then sacrifice the copy, then the original enters. Or better yet, you sacrifice the original, recur it with something, get it back in, have it do the whole legend loop thing, and then draw your whole deck. I think Mendicant is a 4 because he just does good things. Also, there's several artifacts that let you keep making token copies of token copy artifacts. There's a map that does it, and there's another thing that when an artifact you control dies, you can pay 2 mana to get a token copy of it back on the end step. And that means that if you get 2 copies of either of those, you print a crap ton of copies, and now you can make 1,000,000 copies of any artifact you want.
I was gonna say, like, how many do you run many like token doublers or anything that cheeses this further? Or
Not in my
what is the white one?
the token doubler god thing, or
Yeah, or isn't there a token doubler in white?
there's a couple. It's a March the Dead or something like that.
You don't use it,
Um,
I guess is what I'm saying. So you're saying, okay, Will is saying Mendicant is B4. This is high powered. You could go balls to the wall on this list and it would do things. If we're saying
Anointed Procession.
Anointed Procession, thank you. Yeah, yeah. That's 4 CMC, right?
Yeah, it's 4 CMC. I think you do Anointed Procession stuff at like B3 or B2 for Mendicant.
Thank
For
you.
for Mendicant by itself, it's just you run all of the good artifacts, you double them up, and then you find anything that says sack something, and then the game's over
Are you
immediately.
how quickly are you getting there on turn 4?
For max speed, probably not. It's gonna be a slower deck, but it's able to kind of keep up by the fact that it's going to get itself there eventually by itself. You run a couple things that are just naturally evasive
Do
that
you run
will
the
hit stuff.
the one cost guy that's like flying +20 or whatever? Do you know what I'm talking about? The one dude that was leveraged for a long time. It has like flying lifelink. No, +10. No, he didn't have lifelink. What is the guy? Damn it. Audience. If you have more than 20 health, he gets these abilities.
Oh, Sarah Ascendant.
Sarah Ascendant. Do you run Sarah Ascendant in here just to help?
In my list, I didn't because you just have stuff like a Junk Diver and a couple other things that are just incidental artifact flyers that
Yeah, but
can
they're not
connect with.
one drops. Like
Yeah, you don't need to do one drops because Mendicant can connect on turn 3 usually by himself, and that gets you to 2, and you just need something for the last 2 ticks.
you're not trying to like play turn 1, here's my evasive thing. Turn 2, Mendicant hit you with the evasive thing. You're not trying to like power
I'm not
out
trying to
max
turbo the
speed.
max speed.
Okay.
I'm trying to play a control game plan, and when I hit max speed, I go, okay, cool, da 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 game.
I don't I love well, if you guys know my affinity for KCI, I really do actually appreciate artifact combos. Whether it's Teshar or whether it's Oswald, I'm a huge fan. So I'm not gonna lie, Mendicant was really appealing to me. I'm interested to see Will's list, and having played those style of decks, I don't disagree. I don't think that they'll ever reach the heights of like top tier cEDH status. Obviously, KCI lines are really powerful, but not necessarily in this format with as much hate as you can face. So I do see this being bracket 4 though. It seems really good to me. If not a little slow. I know a lot of people are concerned about hitting max speed, and I'm still a little concerned about hitting max speed here. So I would want to see it played, but theoretically I see it as I could see it as a
Yeah,
B4.
I have a Mother of Runes and Giver of Runes also to help
Yeah.
protect Mendicant and get max speed because protection gives evasion.
Do you exactly? Yeah. That's not that's honestly a good idea. Do you run the artifact one? I run an Oswald. What's his name?
Skrelv. I don't run Skrelv, but I probably should run Skrelv just because it's
Yeah.
another one.
Scrub's a really good one for you too. I think it's not like you can duplicate it, but if you need to, even in the late game, if you have one of those like artifact tutors that's to sacrifice an artifact, it could just be the one that you don't need after you tap it. But this also protects your stacks. I mean, technically, yeah. If you want to double down on like something that taxes your opponents, or this is really cool tech, honestly, at max speed. So like early game, it's not going to really help your stacks, but you can make duplicates of things you cast later.
And other thing for Mendicant, because I didn't realize this when I initially built it, then I was like, oh, that's actually really smooth. If you do any cost reducer, you can sack and recur cost reducers to start reducing the cost of your artifacts with Mendicant. But having just like cost reduction of 2 for your artifacts means that you can use a Mere Retriever and any Mana Rock with anything that says sacrifice artifacts to go infinite, because you'll be able to infinitely loot Mere Retriever by just paying 1 for the copy and 0 for the original, and then getting back any Mana Rock by paying 0 for the original and 1 for the copy as well, and then sacrificing and recurring them. So there was a bunch of lines that you can do with cost reducers to abuse Mendicant loop stuff. So it's a good commander. I built it for bracket 4, but I like it. And also the name of the deck is Can We Fix It, Mendy Can. If anyone gets that reference, good for you.
Can we fix it? Apparently Mendy can't though.
I know.
He's just being modest. Winter, Cursed Rider. This is interesting. So Drax, like I like the question you asked. Is he a B4 B5 bracket? But it definitely goes into Tivit. That's interesting. Yeah, normally when we didn't state this off the top, but normally when we critique legendaries, it's for their use specifically in the CZ. So we're not going to like factor in his value in anyone's 99, but that may very well be true. This Demir on the nose, 3/2, human warlock, ward, pay 2 life. Not the end of the world. Artifacts you control have ward, pay 2 life. Still not the end of the world. Exhaust, pay 2, Demir. Tap, exile X artifact cards from your graveyard. Each other non-artifact creature gets -X until end of turn. So, I don't know. I'm sorry. Wait, can we fix it? No, Bob signed the divorce papers.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, man. Call Mendicant, attorney at law. I like this. I don't know. Exhaust is a new keyword that it's an ability you can only use once for this instance of this character. Obviously, you could flicker him and exhaust him again. It's removal on a stick. It's protection for your artifacts, but really,
it's protection. I feel like
yeah,
life is usually not really protection.
if even like 1 mana was attached to that, it would be way more valuable in my opinion, because people are more leery about getting resources other than their life removed from them, right? Because when you have 40 life, it's usually payable. It's usually payable, right? I mean, we slam mana crypts, am I right? So we don't really care about losing life. We used to slam mana crypts. What am I talking about? Will, where does this sit for you? I feel like this is maybe B2.
I think this is probably B1 only because you're not advancing any kind of game plan with this commander. Like, there's really nothing that you're going for, because even if you want to save most pre-con commanders, they're building a board to some extent. This is just a instant speed board wipe whenever, which is good, and I like, and I would be willing to build this, but I'm also willing to acknowledge it's B1. At least for me.
Yeah, I mean, you could build a board of artifact creatures. I don't know. It is a one-sided board wipe, though, if you really think about it. You can have like an artifact tribal deck here. It is doing a specific thing. Man.
There's usually
it just hurts
better...
that it's like you have to exile the artifacts from your graveyard, because like it obviously loses the effectiveness with that. So like even if you're doing like eggs thing, or you crack the egg, a bauble, and then have it in your graveyard, you'll only ever do X amount at height, and then wherever you are at this point of the game, you can maybe do like 1 or 2 more damage to things. So it's like, I feel like, and again, it's exhaust is only the once per turn, but we're pretending like we're gonna flicker this thing too. I don't disagree, Will. I think you could probably say 1 for this.
I want to pitch an option, or want to pitch a thing which is kind of a good comparative option to say why I think this is a 1. Falthus, it's the cat partner that's
Can you spell
commanders
that?
you control have menace death touch.
Valve?
You do that with Togo, so that you can give your commanders a shock ability, and then you just keep killing all creatures on the board. That's about the same kind of power as Winter for the most part, maybe better than Winter, just as a constant removal.
How do you spell that?
Sorry, Falthis.
Falthus. Okay.
It's a partner. It's just a partner that says your commanders have menace and death
Commanders
touch.
you control have menace and death touch. Okay.
So you use that in Togo, which Togo says landfall, make a rock. Rocks have equipped for, I think, 1, pay 1, tap the equipped creature, and then sacrifice the rock to have the equipped creature deal 2 damage to any target. So you just keep putting rocks on Togo and Falthus, and then they death touch, deal 2, and keep killing stuff over and over and over again.
Seems better.
Yeah, it's
different colors though. Togo's red, right?
Yeah, Togo's red. It's roughly like the same power in my eyes, because one time instant speed screw everything is really good. But it's about the same as that, and I'd kind of consider Togo Falthus as like probably a bracket 1 deck.
Wait, shit. End boss. Is this as far as Magic the Gathering goes? This is
Final
the
boss, also known
wow.
as the end boss.
Here, you can read this one off, Will, actually.
Uh, Far Fortune End Boss. 2, a black and a red for a legendary creature, human mercenary with 4 power and 5 toughness. Start your engines whenever you attack. Far Fortune deals 1 damage to each opponent. Max speed, if source you control deals damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals that much plus 1. This is a Torbrand effect. It gets to max speed by itself pretty easily just because you can keep swinging with stuff that gets blocked and nitping stuff, and then it starts burning people down. Um, it's a slow burn deck. I think the red god thing that we got from
The
what
new
is it, the
newer
previous
Ixalan
Ixalan.
set. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I think that's a
Journey to
better version.
Ixalan. Journey to
Yeah, I think that god's a better version of this by like
wow.
a
Just
mile.
I really expected more with that name. You don't just slap N boss on a card.
If it was,
Am I wrong? Like, I feel like this should have been some like Omega level threat, some giant ass dragon.
they
Like,
made it like deal +2 instead, I feel like that would have been really good and that would have been kind of playable. +1 just feels like
eh. Yeah, yeah. Even in a one-on-one setting, I wonder if this is really really potent. Obviously, when you hit max speed, it does do what you're saying. It will shock them. So, eh,
yeah, but like
this is a one. Am I wrong?
this is a 1. It's worse Torbrand. Torbrand is like a 2, maybe a 3, and this is worse Torbrand.
How about Redshift Rocketeers? They're all over the place. Rocketeer Chief, maybe.
Rocketeer.
Gruul. Cutest go kart, by
Oh
the way.
no, now Patrick, do you know the name of the Goblin racing team from this set?
No.
It is Speed Goblin with 8 E's.
Oh God, of course. Goblin Pilot 2/3 Mustard Vigilance. Oh, so you can attack with this too. Tap. Add X mana of any one color where X is Redshif's power. Spend this mana to only to activate abilities. Okay, so you could help activate your exhaust of
You could
12.
loot Staff of Dominance.
Put any number of permanent cards from your hand onto the battlefield. What a weird thing for Gruul to do. I mean,
So
I guess
it's a fun card. You can cheat in stuff and it can't be counterspelled, and it does have infinite combos to loop things, but it is really slow and really clunky. There's some fun things you can do, but I think this is maybe a 3 at best. I think it's probably better than precons because you can just play Redshift, pay mana, and then put in all of the massive things from your hand.
I mean, this
But
has a game plan. There's no
yeah,
doubt about that. I just want to see what the alt arts look like. Holy crap, dude! The rock and roller up top here.
yeah.
That looks sick as hell. Okay, I'm not gonna lie though. I think it's the go kart with the missiles and shit is way cuter. Um, oh man, this is cool. Max speed mechanic. I I like this, dude. I like this a lot. I do think you're right. It's slow as hell. Is there a way to cheese activated abilities? Is there a way to like make activated abilities 0 in Gruul?
There's like activated ability reduction with Agatha the Vile Cauldron,
Yeah,
but
but that's it, right?
yeah, the best thing that you can do is just buff the ever loving crap out of
Right.
Redshift with random effects, and then tap Redshift for like 10 mana, and then just go okay, activate Redshift, boom.
I would say that
Um,
this could be a bracket 3 commander. Like you might win some high powered competitions.
the
But
fact that this has infinite combos, yeah, bracket 3.
what are the infinite combos? Like because
It's Staff of Domination and any buff.
Staff of Dom, any buff. Yeah, so what you just untap. You need to make enough mana to activate the staff. What do you so you just draw your deck and then you drop things. Yeah, so what are the best buff spells right now? What are there anything that give actually, can't you wait, no. We've got equipment too. Just put the Colossus hammer on this guy. Just freaking magnetic theft Colossus hammer fucking go. Sorry.
It's
Wait, I really do want to build this now. I kind of
yeah,
I mean
Redshift Redshift is like Sylvala, but you're not trying to do the loops as much. You're trying to get this buffed so that you can vomit out your hand more
And
likely than not.
I've never wanted a legendary to be Boros more, which is kind of frustrating because it's like, yeah, let me Steel Shaper's Gift this shit out, or let me use God, what's her name? The one that finds the creature that just finds the equipment from your deck and puts
Oh,
it on the battlefield. What's her name?
Stoneforge Mystic.
Stoneforge Mystic. Like, give me a reason to use the copy I have. This is a really cool legendary. I do feel like green. I would rather just go for like big equipment than honestly buff because I want there to be some permanence to it. Like an instant speed for this turn for this thing feels just okay. But if I were to have a Colossus Hammer sit there that I could recover with my welders, great. Like I mean, you're still gonna go for that, I think. This is really cool. I just want
Yeah.
to start with that. Okay, so yeah, B3. Shit, I want to build that. I really want to build this. This seems like a really sick legendary. I don't know how I
It's
missed this
really
one.
funny too, because I was bringing this up to a friend and I said, "Oh yeah, equipment is probably the best way that you can build this because it pays for the equip cost, and the next turn you have a ton of mana." And then that completely flew out of my brain after I told him that, and I forgot that that was my recommended way to build this.
Yeah, dude, Colossus. Yeah, like I think that's the best one you could go for. Obviously, the equip cost is kind of high, but you'll cheese that. Or just have anything that auto equips. I love this. I really like this. You probably drop a treasonous ogre in here too to like help cheese things, just to get the ball rolling. Um, yeah, I like it a lot. All right, so Caradora. You want to take turns on these ones actually?
Sure, I can do Caradora. So Caradora is 2 a green and a white for a legendary creature human knight with 4 power and 2 toughness. When this enters the battlefield, search your library for a mount or vehicle, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Whenever one or more counters would be put on a creature or vehicle you control, put that many +1 on it instead.
Oh, gotta just look at the alt art of this one, Will. This is one of the coolest. Oh, this is so cool. Does this get that like that special foil treatment or no? Yuko
Maybe.
Shimizu did a amazing job. Like this art makes me want to play this alone. Um, I think this has a plan. Like you're playing. I mean, it enters. You search up a mount or vehicle and put it in your hand. So obviously, tutor at 4 CMC we don't really like, but it's a 2-for-1. Like you get a tutor and a body. This specific body is your commander. Unfortunately, Selesnya has the worst free commander spells or things that care about your commander being on the battlefield. So, like, is that relevant? No. If one or more +1/+1 counters would be put on a creature or vehicle, well, the thing is, like, this is like a hardened scales for that, but it's not the application. So you would need something that's also manipulating those +1/+1 counters. Is there a mount or a vehicle that does this? I'm sure. I feel like this is good beats, but then again, like, I don't know. We always bring up this girl from the Enchanted Woods of sorry, the Enchanted Woods of Eldraine, but Elevere. Elevere just feels like the kind of de facto low end Selesnya legendary. I How are you on this one, Will?
I'm trying to see if there is a mount or vehicle that can flicker her.
Right, that would be good too. Right, so just like that, promptly flicker, get her back, then get the one that gives like +1/+1 counters. Um, at best though, like what's the
Oh,
accomplishment in you doing?
Fortune. Fortune is a good example. So you can use a Fortune, which is a mount that has saddle 1. Whenever it attacks, you can exile and return one of the creatures that saddled it. You can use that with a Caradora to keep getting artifacts and vehicles out of your deck. Or sorry, vehicles and mounts out of your deck. There's probably like a vehicle that does it as well that I'm missing. But uh,
I really like it. I feel like this
yeah, there's a golden Argosy, which exiles and returns all the things that crewed it this turn. I think that you could probably build this as a 2, and it would actually kind of function.
I
But
agree. I
I'd
slipped
say
her
2.
I slipped her right into the 2 slot for sure. Both arts are great. This character looks really sick. I would want to play her. Both 2 in a row. I really like Redshift and Caradora. But Loggerin, Soul of Alakria.
Love a good
Selesnya again.
logger.
Yeah. Fly 1/1 flyer. Ugh. Whenever a Logrin attacks while saddled, put a 1/1 counter on each of up to 2 target mounts or vehicles. This is pretty good. So by the way, Logrin is the bat or beast mount, excuse me, that we see Kuradora riding. So I guess technically you could, wouldn't it have been cool if just said partners with and they were like different colors, but like one was green, blue, and
They were the same color. I would have been fine with that because it's like they're just there.
Yeah. Right. It would have been cool. I feel like this makes sense. They're obviously visually illustrated in each other's art. As a matter of fact, actually, no. Okay. This is okay. Obviously, this works in tandem with what Kuradora is doing, but we don't really care about that. We're just looking at this card by itself. It's
a 1.
It's a 1. It has a strategy, but it's not a good one. Sorry, bud.
We have better commanders that put counters on stuff.
All right, I guess this is what people wanted to discuss, right?
Ash Brown's himself. Ashiton Scarab's Fist. A white and a black for a legendary creature, zombie wizard.
I just want hash browns now.
Indeed. Zombie wizard with 1 power and 3 toughness. Whenever you discard a creature, you may pay 2 and a blue. If you do, create a tapped token that's a copy of that creature, except it is a 4/4 black zombie.
This sounds bad, Will.
This is a 5. This is a 5.
Do you think so?
The most casual thing that you do with hash browns is probably zombie tribal. But the thing is, you're probably recurring stuff to hand and making an army that keeps coming back over and over and over again. And that is the most casual way, and that is probably a 3. The most competitive thing that you do with it is cheat engine Gitaxis or Razaketh, or get yourself to max hand size using Necropotence, discard Thassa's Oracle, pay 3, reanimate, or get a token copy of Thassa's Oracle, cast Tainted Pact, and win the game.
There's so many different ways to approach this win as well, right? Did you just say Necropotence, discard to hand? Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
I think the real issue with this. Yeah. Oh no, sorry, no, I hear you all right. Yeah. I was just thinking about how this is an effect we've seen before, but typically the thing gets exiled. So even if you fail, it's still a reanimate target. It's I don't know, they kind of push this 2-drop quite a bit. The way its text reads is too plain. It's just good stuff. And it's weird because normally they're very restrictive about how good they make a thing, especially if it's low CMC, but they kind of unchained this one. It's really good. I don't mind paying 3 to copy Razaketh, like Will was saying. I don't mind paying 3 to copy Jin Gitaxias. I don't mind paying, these are not bad things. And you're saying, well, you have to discard it though. There are so many ways. There are so many good ways. Hell, even if it was a spell, a low-end spell that says as additional cost, discard a card, great. Let's rip it. And then you have this at instant speed, right? Well, provided the thing was instant. You obviously have sorceries that do this. Hullbreaker is going to be my favorite target. Hell yeah. There's so much shit though. It's 3 colors. It's Esper, right? Esper?
Yeah, it's Esper. And one of the weird tech cards that I brought up to a friend who's building this casually is Angel of Serenity. It's exile up to 3 other creatures from field or from grave. When this leaves the battlefield, put all those creatures to their owner's hand. So you can discard Angel of Serenity to Hashiton. Token enters, exiling Angel of Serenity and 2 other things that you've made token copies of with Hashiton. Whenever that Angel of Serenity leaves, you get all of them back. You might discard them to hand size and then do it again and 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 do it again. And then you make everyone miserable. It is really good. Hashiton is he's a monster. He's great.
Yeah. Yeah, I think of all the legendaries we're talking about today, Hashiton is probably the clearest cEDH playable legendary. 1, it's in 3 really great colors, but 2, it's so immediately accessible for the player, and then 3, you just use value cards and then discard them and make copies, and then keep those copies in your trash because why not? And then do your plan B is reanimate. It's so damn good.
He's so good. I love him.
Yeah, and he just works well with good shit too. I mean, like you were saying, I'm gonna use Necropotence and discard. It's they'll get exiled that way, but who gives a shit? I'm trying to win right now. There's so many angles of approach you could do to this, and something we talked about in our shorts video is like you could even do, uh, you could even just play this as a slow list with like rule of law effects, and then build up hand off turn and like use this active this triggered ability off turn, right? So slow play.
Ghostly Pilfer in play, and you just go, okay, before my turn, discard this, pay 6, get both of these in play as 4/4s. Cool. Going to my turn. Keep up all my mana, pass.
Yeah, it's nasty.
Spell.
It's
Spell.
exactly.
Discard, cheat in.
Right, because the way this functions as a triggered ability, like if you just have ways to discard, draw, any sort of utilities that do that, like rule of law effects aren't that bad because your whole game plan is triggered. It's so solid, dude. I like this a lot. I'm gonna take a second before we move on to the next legendaries to ask you guys if you're enjoying this video. Feel free to leave it with a like. Let people know. It goes a long way. We've had people jumping in and out. Also, I do want to quickly ask, how do you guys feel about the bracket system? Is there anything you would change? We've had a conversation on our previous live about the new bracket system. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, as it obviously has come up today with how we are tiering things. But Hashton, big win. Ketramos, though. I actually really like Ketramos, dude. I really like Ketramos.
If you like Ketramos so much, then why don't you read it?
Yeah, I'll marry him even. Don't tell the wife. Don't tell the wife. It's generic and Orzhov. Orzhov's my favorite part of the color pie, by the way. I think that's why I like Ketramos. 4/4 body, God. Menace, lifelink, indestructible. Ketramos can't attack or block unless there are 7 or more cards in exile. That's okay. Whenever 1 or more cards are put into exile from graveyards and or the battlefield during your turn, you draw a card and lose a life. Well, I've built Kumbal ages ago as a pain stacks list that was super, super fun. I love that Orzhov deck, but it used cards like Planar Void. And Planar Void, I can just look it up for you guys. Planar Void is a really unique effect for graveyards. Whenever a card is put into a graveyard, it is exiled. So you get to play stuff like Planar Void or the Leyline or any other effects like Rest in Peace with Ketramos to great effects, right? So you're getting, it's value city for you. You get to draw up to hand. So there's a few ways to loop this, provided you're at hand side, past capacity, correct? Unless you've got like a spellbookers.
I have the 5 pulled up right now.
Oh, so yeah. So list them off, and then Will, you can walk them through the strategy, and then we can sort of rank them. But it's the last effect we're looking at. Obviously, you do lose life while you're doing this, but we'll get there.
It is Necropotence, Planar Void, Contain Construct, Bag of Holding, and Currency Converter. The way that all these cards loop with Ketramos is you move to end step, discard 1 card to hand size. Each of these cards say when a card is put into your graveyard or when you discard a card, exile it. So the card now goes from graveyard to exile. Ketramos sees that happen and makes you lose life and draw a card. Then you get another cleanup phase because you had a trigger previously. Discard the card again, exile it, draw a card, repeat. You draw through your whole deck. That is the Ketramos loop. You just need enough cards in hand and then one of these 5 cards, and then you draw through your whole deck.
Do you use effects that multiply triggers like this? Because imagine that you're, and this is something we didn't even talk about. Like obviously it's graveyards and or battlefield. So yes, like this is tribal swords and path commander, right? So like
Swords,
any of your
path, flicker, you name something and you're happy with it.
Well, this is really interesting because wouldn't this with the Leon and Relic Water loop do the same thing? Am I wrong? Right. So like there's multiple flavors to doing the same thing. It's just that when you do Lean and Relic Water and say any sort of anime dead effect, you just need to be mindful that you will be losing life when you do this. So the last target you hit with your anime dead is any other creature, like your Birds of Paradise in your trash, right? To just stop the line before you win with an alternative. Hopefully that's in your hand. There's like
you hit the rule of law with your Leonin as instead of your reanimate effect.
Right, exactly. So you could still play into the Leonin, obviously if there isn't like a valid target for him, whatever. Or I don't know, you just get rid of someone's treasure or something. It's really, really solid. Like there's multiple flavors to this effect, and it's a draw, lose 1 life. Obviously the only things that can hamper this are like Orcish Bowmaster, Someone has a con sphinx, stuff like that. Just be mindful. Use your cantrips, your swords to plowshare and shit to kill, like, exile those first, and then continue to play the lines. This has such a clear play line. It's not a do nothing necessarily when it hits the field. Like, you could start getting value from this immediately, whether you are dealing with people's graveyards and or the battlefield. It's good, dude. It's really good.
It's the thing that no one really brings up about this card, but I want to bring up. It has lifelink. Lifelink indestructible. It is the
Yeah.
best possible blocker that you could ask for, and it will gain you multiple life every turn so that you can keep digging in more and more and more. So in addition to having combos that make you pay 35 life and draw your 35 cards from your deck, this also just gains you life. So you are probably paying more than 35 in the loop.
If I had a nickel for every B4, B5 god that was printed in Orzhov, I'd have 2 nickels. Yeah. Count this one on the list. I do think that this is a B4. And that's just because, like, the things that are accessible for commanders and Orzhov just aren't as tight as the things that are accessible for commanders that are, say, in Esper, or just other colors, like any other 2-color pie. Like, Dimir is usually pretty clean. Like, Dimir's got some good shit. But white, the accessible commander specific cards are meh. You have like Deadly Rollick and some other things in black. This by itself, though, you're right. The lifelink is relevant. I feel like I wish he had vigilance instead of he's a god, so he'd have indestructible. But you kind of do want this as like the best blocker in the world. But I feel like you're going to get to him being able to attack pretty easily. I think that this is a B4. I think it's very easy to build for. It's 3 CMC, so it's a little bit tougher than Hashiton to put down, but not by much.
I personally say this is a B5, and my only reason why is because it has both clear and clean play lines, value engines, and a combo. So it does everything that you want a cEDH deck to do.
Yeah, sorry. You keep going.
I would say pretty much from our previous tier list, anything that we put in A tier would be in bracket 5 for an example of dragging from our previous type of tier list to our current one. And I would definitely say Ketramos is maybe an S for our old tier list, but is definitely an A.
It's one of two things. I'll leave it to a poll. I'm gonna agree with you though. And it's the simple fact that he draws, and he draws so cleanly, and he draws off of, the 2 relevant zones, right? It's like your graveyard or your battlefield. Even things like
Lion Sash.
Yeah, anything, exactly, like any sort of value piece that's like, I'm gonna exile that shit from your graveyard. Like, it gives you excuses to play good cards. Like, Lion Sash is not a bad card. It's just better ooze, really. So it's like you get to get so much value off that shit. It doesn't the Cauldron, even like exiling something with the Cauldron, Agatha's Soul Cauldron, and that's just value. You could probably work in an Agatha's Soul Cauldron line in this deck, and you do that and you draw a card. It's
you do that and you draw a card and you buff your life linker that is going to be regaining you the life to do all that, because both Lion Sash and Agatha's buff a thing.
Yeah. It's indestructible too, just being a god, so it's like hard to remove, frankly. Like, they need their own form of exile. Maybe this is B5. You can't like neglect how good just having card advantage is, and if your deck is hell-bent on doing the thing that gives you card advantage, like, you just get there. Man, I really like Ketramos. I haven't built an Orzhov deck in paper in a long time, but I saw this and I'm like, this is just such gas. It's so fucking cool. I wish it had one of the cool like foil variant arts, like the little specular foils. But this is kind of dope. I might pick up one of these alt arts, probably the orange background one. Sorry. Art is super relevant for me, so I always check. Ketramos is a B5 in my mind. I want to see where you guys land. I think that it's a B5. We'll put him in B5 for now, but holy crap, he is good. Good chat, Will. I think we could stop there, but there's one more Orzhov.
So Zahur, Glory's Past.
I hardly know her. Sorry.
Zahur, I hardly know her. 1 white and 1 black for a 3/2 legendary creature zombie cat warrior, because it's always cats.
Yeah. You hear
Start
that? You hear that, Bosri?
start your engines. We know what start your engines does. Sacrifice another creature. Surveil one. Activate only once each turn. So it's a little bit of a sack engine that can give you a little bit of fixing. Max speed. Whenever non-token creature you control dies, make a 2/2 zombie creature token. This is a really good aristocrats commander because if you do hit the max speed, which in aristocrats you probably do because you have blood artist and Zulaport and all them, you're going to do crazy stuff and you're going to find combos pretty easily. Because even like a reassembling skeleton, something that sacks for mana and then blood artist gives you game. There's also what's it called? Uh Forsaken Miner lines, and you can use these to kind of get value and storm off. This is in no way a 4, but I'd say it's either a B2 or a B3 for me because it does have an actual distinct play style because it has card advantage with its first effect, and then value / way to end the game with the second effect. So I'd say B2 or B3. It's not a B1, I don't think, and it's definitely not a B4.
Keeps her away from Bosri. He's killing. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats.
No, Zahur is the aftermath of Bosri.deck of killing all the cats because he's the zombie cat warrior.
Yeah. He's like, you motherfucker.
He makes zombies. You thought you could kill the cats? Now we're killing the people.
Yeah, exactly. Those cats got swole after they hit max speed. I don't disagree with. Well, I feel like this is a B3. It's good. You could push this. I don't think it's as good as some of our B4s though.
Yeah, you could definitely build this into B4, but you have to try to do that. I think it's more like a B3.
Yeah, I feel like this will compete on the same wavelength as our Redshift. Like it's just a little bit harder to get there, but
yeah,
I do want to build Redshift next. I feel like that should be our next brew. It looks really, really fun, dude. Redshift looks so cool.
Yeah.
We have talked about Captain Howler on the channel already. Sea Scourge. Yeah, two generic and is it 5/4 body shark pirate ward. Pay two life is quite good. Whenever you discard one or more cards, creatures you control get +2. A target creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn for each card discarded this way. Whenever that creature deals combat damage to a player this turn, you draw a card. As we've noted in our stream building the deck, you can do this on anyone's creature and you can get multiple triggers stacked for the draw. It's important to note that, something that like a wheel effect will give you, if your hand size was 7, it will give you the 14 power, yes, but only 1 draw. So we're sort of favoring cards that let you incrementally discard. It's good. I want to say that it's like,
I'd give it a 5. Like, it's the lower side of 5, but it's definitely playable in cEDH. I would not be surprised to see this at a cEDH table.
It's the same reason I feel the way I do about Ketramos in most like 2-colored commanders. Like, yes, it's good, but you are limited in scope. As the game progresses and we get more cards, you'll find that like the saturation of good effects, the things you just want to have in your deck, will fill up those flex spots. So 2 colors have it way more favorably than 1, but I still see them landing in 4 more often than not. I feel like the ward on this is good. When we play tested this deck, it did the thing. It did what we wanted it to do. But there are plenty of situations where, you could just be out of hand with nothing to do. I feel like I'm on the higher end of 4, but I think I'm on 4 here.
I specifically because of the ward 2, I kind of give it a 5 because
yeah, I mean it's nice evasion.
Because it gives itself the time to do the thing and do the setup, and even if you don't have a ton of cards in hand, it's still helping you set up and helping you draw through your deck until you get enough value that you can close the game. So I'd say low side of 5, but a 5.
Yeah, if this was Grixis, stop.
Oh, if this is Grixis, yeah, unquestionable 5.
Yeah. What if it was ward pay 2 black?
If they ever make ward pay a pip, that card is going to be unkillable.
Yeah,
it's
right.
So brutal.
Right. It's like, oh shit, I gotta tap my duel just to freaking hit that thing. This is also a deck where you can run Braylon Curiosity. Yeah, no. There's a couple things. It's also a pirate. So like one of our lines, what was one of the lines with it wasn't
I
can't
think
we
you're thinking of the other combo, the Magmakin.
yeah.
That is a separate thing, but it's
Well, maybe not relevant here because we didn't roll with it. You would say that this is better than Mendicant?
yeah, because with Mendicant you need to hit max speed and then get like a two card combo. With Captain Howler, you really just need one card and
Yo, this
a bulky enough hand.
I think I'm sort of locked into our old way of arranging tiers because in my mind, um,
Only one thing should be at the very
right,
top.
right, but you are kind of right in your assessment that rank so A tier legendaries, I would say as well to A tier legendary will compete in a cEDH setting, and
Yeah,
just because it's not S tier doesn't mean it can't compete, right? And I don't disagree. I feel like this would be an A in our previous tier, and is playable in cEDH. So if we were going to look at it that way, our previous S and A's, like you were saying, should probably all fit in a cEDH setting. I don't think we've done anything wrong up until this point. I just think when it comes to these bracket fives, it's important to note that there's some flexibility with like how we would look at them. I think there's separate rankings here, but I think it's good. I think it's good for bracket five. I agree with that. Um. All right,
next
moving on.
one. Going to Golgari, we got a chick, Emerald
Bless you.
Radiant.
Hmm.
Um, it is 3 black, black, green for a legendary creature insect druid with 3 power and 3 toughness. Whenever this enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 green insect creature token for each artifact and or creature card in your graveyard. Whenever another insect you control dies, put a +1/+1 counter on this, and each opponent loses 1 life. This is a pretty decent aristocrats commander in my opinion. This might be a 3 only because it's a commander that you don't really play a lot until you eventually just say, okay, I have a big enough graveyard, play this, get 12 insects or 20 insects or something, sacrifice all of them to all of the altars, replay this from the command zone after draining everybody for 10, do it again, do it again, do it again, do it again, everyone's dead. So this is a deck that doesn't play the commander until the game ends, but that's kind of what this commander is built for. I'd say that this is probably like a 2 or 3. Probably a 2, because I don't think that you actually build into this commander. You're just doing artifact good stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
this is definitely a really stupidly strong commander, but out of out of the way you build it, I'd say it's probably a 2. Out of the power scaling, it's probably a 3.
Mm.
So
What's the
you don't build into it. It's just that the whole combo for this is have a big enough graveyard and then have back for mana effects so that you can drain with the last effect and make bodies with the first effect.
can you Hermit Druid a play here? Is that too much? Can you dump your library and like drop this
Hold
and win on the
on.
spot? I'm trying to think, is there like a clean
Maybe I need to look at the wording on one card because if this effect is not sorcery, then frickin' Smeagol, not Golem. But
I'm trying to see, like, I would put this into 3 if it had like if I could build this and have a productive game with it, maybe, but I'm feeling like it's a 2. It's not the it's just expensive. I think the issue is it's expensive and it's not doing anything in the long term. Like 99 for Grist though. 99 for Grist.
hey, where's is it Golem? Hold on, where
Not
is
another high mana insect commander. Yeah, we get those a lot. A Titch could
okay?
probably be B4, but it's B3 from the mana cost. Yeah, I feel that same way. Will is on B3. Well, he's between the
I
two. I'm kind of leaning towards
I'm leaving it to your discretion. Pretty much the entire game plan of this commander is you just sacrifice your board, keep milling yourself, and do that kind of stuff, and then get a Phyrexian Altar in play, and then just go doom, 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 doom game by burning people out with the second effect and getting enough mana back to replay it from the command zone with the first effect. Like, you can do stuff with Skull Clamp in the first effect. You have ways of killing your own stuff.
Does anyone?
There's enough Aristocrats engines that I think it's probably a 3, but it feels clunky because of the cost that I'm willing to agree that it's a 2.
I would only want to run this if one, we had like enough. If there was a way I can guarantee once that if this resolves, I win the game. And because this is the aristocrat itself, right? Like this is the one we're relying on to close out the game. And by the time it drops, hopefully everyone's life is like around 32 to 35 in a competitive setting. Like they'll have functionally like shocked themselves and
I don't think you realize how much damage this does, Patrick. This could kill someone at 200. Like a singular person at 200. Because you're sacrificing all these things to get mana to replay this from the command zone. Let's say it makes 10 insects. That lets you replay this.
I see what you're suggesting.
Yeah. Like,
I mean, I guess, like, is there, like, food chain shenanigans as well? Like, you could just...
Sadly, no, because it doesn't make equal to the cost or the mana you cast for it, but it's...
For each artifacted creature, yeah, that's fine. But I mean, like, saying if you do Eternal Scourge and food chain, can't you just...
It's when an insect dies, not when an insect leaves the field.
It's exile. So, they're specifically exiled with food chain, right? So you do need another sack outlet.
It's specifically like Phyrexian Altar or the Ward Soul Trader are the ways to go.
This is a 3. It's fine. I think that this could go into 3.
Also, I think Hermit Druid line, there is kind of one. It's a Hermit Druid, play this, and then what's Dread Return? Dread Return, sack a couple things, get back Warren Soul Trader, and then loop with Warren Soul Trader and this to burn everybody out for 2 billion.
Warren Soul Trader?
It's a Phyrexian Altar, but you have to pay a life and you get a treasure instead of getting a mana. It's the Goblin Wizard that looks like it should be a Warlock.
We won't bring that up again. Pay 1 life, sacrifice another creature, create a treasure token. Yeah, I like that.
Only downside of doing that line specifically, you need more life than your opponents to actually do that.
Nest of Scarabs, Yawgmoth.
Yeah, we can say 2 because you don't feel like you're building into this commander. You feel like you're using this commander as a finisher more than anything else.
So to answer Wolfsbane's question, does anyone still run Rest of Peace or Leyline of the Void? And I feel like the way we've matured as deck builders and like the way the game has evolved, we're not really, you don't see that many slower lists. And it's not to say that they, those forms of stacks can't functionally help, but you're also playing against a clock. So most of the time, like, there's a lot of waffling about that can happen with too much stacks. But like, these are ones that only hamper particular strategies. So in my mind, it's not the end of the world to have them. But if we're talking about something like, does Ketramos get around to Rest in Peace? Like, isn't it a replacement effect if it would be? So like, Rest in Peace would kind of fuck up the Lean and Relic Water line.
Yeah, but it doesn't mess up, actually, and yeah, it does mess up the discard loop. So yeah, Rest in Peace messes with Ketramos specifically.
Right. Planar Void is whenever another card is put into the graveyard. So like this would, ultimately go on the stack alongside Lean and Relic Water's ability. Animate Dead comes back. Animate Dead would get around Planar Void, right? The way it's sequenced. You need to be, it's dependent. I run Rest in Peace, but it's a bracket 3 War Doctor deck. I think that you could still run them. You just don't see them as often. I do think they're quite effective against Underworld Breach though. Anyway, or any sort of a reanimator builds.
But for Etchik, do we want to say 3 just because it's strong enough, or do we want to?
No, I like 3. I'm sorry, I put it in 3. I think that makes sense. But how about Culloden Triumph Caster? Oh, it's Optimus Prime as a human. Boros 2/3 human pilot. Mounts and vehicles you have could control have haste. Whenever a mount you control enters, it becomes saddled until end of turn. Whenever a vehicle you control enters, it becomes an artifact creature until end of turn. Well,
You
well,
don't have
well.
to pay the initial cost for them, and they have haste. I still don't like it. This is a
B2?
one.
B2?
I, d- I don't even think like you can. My issue is you don't have like a good way to set up anything in Boros with this commander. You
Yeah.
need your commander to actually have some kind of an impact, and this just doesn't have an impact.
Yeah. I mean, like, having, like, certain mounts built up, like, giving them haste, like the one you just mentioned where, like, Exiles comes back in, like, stuff like that's kind of cheeky. There are some really good effective mounts now, and vehicles. Like, there are some really good ones in this set, but, I don't know, dude, I don't remember them being in Boros.
And even if you did want to do vehicles, you're doing like Grease Fang and stuff like that
You could
instead.
still build a fun. You're saying yes, fun, but not effective. You don't think that this could be a B2?
I don't think because I I don't think this competes against precons unless you are making your commander like a side plan. Like, yes, you can build vehicles and stuff like that, but I think you're doing more like Boros artifact synergy stuff than you are vehicles and mounts and things like that. Your commander's kind of like a plan B in that game, in that idea, but I think it's a B1 because of
Heart
that.
of Heart of Kieran is the best early vehicle here. Heart of Kieran. Two generic flying vigilance. You may remove loyalty counter from planeswalking control rather than pay Heart of Kieran's crew cost. Oh, just because it's like a decent beater. That's rough. If that's the best we got, it's rough. Maybe if it was Mardu, it'd be better. Yeah, Boros with anything would be better. But Sabsunin, Alexa embodied. And is she
Substance looks
embodied?
embodied 3, a green, and a blue for legendary creature God. 6 power, 6 toughness, reach, and trample. And indestructible.
Ooh,
Sabsunin cannot attack or block unless it has an even number of counters on it. At the beginning
easy.
of your first main phase, put a +1/+1 counter on Sabsunin. Then, if it has an odd number of counters on it, draw 2 cards. This is probably a B, because you can't do a ton of flashy things with Sabsunin, but if you can put a +1/+1 counter on her every single turn, you are able to attack and you are able to draw 2 cards every single turn. Because you get this ability, get an odd number of counters, draw 2 cards, put another counter, you have an even number of counters, and you attack. So you will always have draw and you will always have counters. It might be a 3, but I think it's 2 draw a turn and probably like by itself an additional +1/+1 counter for turn, and it can potentially get another. They gave Sabsunin as an example of a bracket 1 deck, but
Did
I
they?
think it's probably like it could be bracket 3, it's probably bracket 2. I don't think
I
it
could
does
see I
anything
could see her
flashy.
competing with precons.
She definitely is like on par with precons at minimum. She might be above precons because she's an indestructible trample commander that's buffing herself constantly and drawing you 2 cards a turn.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you just like run hardened scales, right? Doesn't this just like get you the draw and then you have your? Well, I mean,
Then you're
so
never attacking and blocking. It's just giving you 2 draw a turn.
well, I mean, well, if you do hardened scales and then you have the counter manipulator, what's the counter manipulator? I just want to get her to a state where she can knock people out, I guess is what I'm saying. But
Well,
it's
if
kind
you
of good
just give her a +1
buff.
+1 counter every turn on
Yeah.
top of it from a separate trigger, like a 2 mana 1/1 that just says at the beginning of your combat, put a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control.
Yeah.
That's enough to let her attack and draw you cards every turn while powering her up. So it's very easy to both draw and attack off of her. And because trample, she'll kill very quickly. Um
I could see her meshing with B3, but I feel like she's more B2. Like she's just not that potent.
you can definitely
Draw
build
two
her.
cards. Yeah, draw two cards is pretty tight though. And Simic is good.
I think more likely than not, you're building her as a B2 deck, though. You have to try to build her as a B3.
Yeah, it's kind of great deal of effort. Especially, I mean, again, with the game changers, the relevant ones for green, like you kind of want the Gaia's Cradle. So that's one of your three. Yeah, I could see her just being B2. We could just drop her there. All right, guys, I'm closing the poll out on Ketchamos now. So 3, 2. Did we get it right? Yeah. Okay.
People are saying 5.
We'll leave the boy up at 5. I think that makes sense. I think he's a little bit better than Howler. I'm gonna be frank with you.
Next one. I'm gonna do the next one because I actually like this one a good deal.
Sita.
Yeah, Sita Varma. Masked Racer, which by the way, Sita is Lazov confirmed. Let's go. No.
She takes her mask off in her alt art. We've
Oh,
ruined
does she?
we've ruined the allure immediately.
I mean, we've seen Lazov without a mask before. He wears skin masks. How do you not know that's just another mask under the mask?
Oh my god, you're right.
But 1 green, 1 blue for a 2/3 legendary creature human rogue with exhaust for X green green blue. Put X +1/+1 counters on Sita. Then you may have the base power and toughness of each other creature you control become equal to Sita's power until end of the turn. Only activate once. I really like this because this is a commander that lets you go tall and wide simultaneously. If you're just building like an Elf Ball Voltron deck or anything that is built around making Sita a little bit bigger or getting a lot of mana, you make Sita into like a 15/15, let's say. You pay a little bit of mana making Sita an 18/18, then all of your 1/1 elves become 18/18s. And then you just punch. I think it's very fun. I don't think it's high tier. It may be a bracket 3. It's probably a bracket 2 though.
Is she rocking the lightning greaves? The masterpiece lightning greaves? That's the one thing I'm
Maybe.
trying to observe. But she's like zipping through this crowd of riders and like knocking him off. Oh, that's a speed demon right there, right? Or no. That's
Winter.
yeah, that's Winter's car right there. That's kind of
Yeah.
sick. Um
Definitely not a B1 in my opinion because she
no.
actually has a very clear game plan, but I don't know if it's strong enough to be I don't think it's strong enough to compete with like the decks that can sometimes compete with cEDH.
No. She's not B3. She's B2.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool though. It's I don't know. I feel like Sabsuna is just a little bit better than this even, but I'd say they're still in the same ranking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'll let you cover the next one.
Tamet Noctamun's Will for 2 generic and Esper 4/4 body Vigilant Menace Zombie Wizard. Whenever you attack, draw a card, then discard a card. Whenever you draw a card, zombies you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. So this little dude is going to swing at you, Menace Vigilance for 5/5 every turn, provided you get his butt out there. Each time he glimpsed oblivion, he learned another lesson. It's pretty dope. And he erected lotus statues in his honor, because by God, does he need a black lotus to come out. This is fine. This is cool. It's value.
Yeah, it's a little bit of value, and if you have even like a slightly wide board, Brainstorm is +3/+3 to everything, and you just knock the crap out of somebody with this army of zombies.
Yeah.
I like him, but he's B2.
Yeah, he's B2. He's kind of expensive. Windfall wins games. Windfall wins games.
Yeah, Windfall does win games.
For zombies. Look, he glimpsed into oblivion. He only saw zombies there, okay? B2.
He glimpsed into oblivion. Turns out he saw one with nothing and discarded his hand.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, Samut. We get her so often. Is this one any good, though?
Force. 3 red, green, white, legendary creature, human warrior, cleric with 4 power, 5 toughness, first strike, vigilance, and haste. Start your engines. Creatures you control get +X/+O, where X is your speed. Non-creature spells you cast cost X less, where X is your speed. this is a really good token commander because all of your just instants and sorceries that make tokens for you cost very little. Like what is it called? The Copper Coats. You can cast Called the Copper Coats, targeting literally everybody for white, 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 and then you get a massive board of creatures that are all getting +4/+0. Note, Samut has haste, so there is a decent chance that you play Samut, immediately swing, and have 2 speed right off the bat. So,
And by immediately, he means like turn 4 or something.
oh yeah, well, I'm saying
I
Samut
know.
enters and you have 2 speed.
No,
Um,
I'm with you. I'm just saying it's like you're definitely going to want to use other things to start your engine before you get her down.
um, but when this gets going, it can do some decent things. My issue is I I don't think Samut knows what she wants to be on this card, because it's like, oh well, the most powerful part of this effect is your non-creature spells cost less, which is really good for artifacts. So does she want to be an artifact commander? Well, she doesn't make your artifact creatures cost less, just the non-artifact or the non-creature artifacts.
Yeah, it's weird.
Well, Samut can give all of your stuff +4/+0. Okay, so she's really good with creatures, but she doesn't reduce the cost of your creatures. So you need to make creatures off of non-creature based means. It's it feels weird and awkward. I think just casting spells to get tokens is the best way to go. But probably a bracket too. You could maybe build this as like a bracket 4 if you really tried hard enough. But I think that if you're just throwing something together with what you have, it's going to be bracket 2.
Just use Jeweled Lotus, Simian Spirit Guide, Elvish Spirit Guide. Silly. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Best speed commander in the game. Can't believe this and the other one have gradual speed effects. I can't believe more cards didn't have gradual speed effects. I can't believe they didn't think of like starting post. Speed 2, it does this. Speed 3, it does this. Speed 4, it does this. I'm surprised that there aren't more cards that played with the theme, because it was a good theme and they killed it. Not in a good way. I'm sorry, guys. You really could have. I don't know if they tested more cards with gradual speed effects. Maybe it was just too hard to conjure. But it's like we got this, exhaust, and what else? Like we didn't really get that much. Like I would have loved for speed to have more value than cards just caring about max speed. It kills me. Kills me. It was such a cool theme. Sorry. Samut would be cEDH if fast mana was unbanned. Yeah, Samut is very expensive. I kind of feel like the X less on non-creature spell. Like you're right, it is confused. Would this be too good if spells just cost X less?
So if it was spells just cost X less, then she'd be like a creature storm commander probably. I don't think Samut would be cEDH if Samut literally cost a red, a green, and a white and had less stats. Like if you reduced her stats and reduced her mana value by 3, I don't think she's cEDH viable. Like, yes, because one, you have to play Samut, get your start on speed, then incline up for max speed. The reason why Vinwixt and why Mendicant are potentially higher power is because they are so low mana. Like they're so low cost. But if Samut was even like
5,
yeah, if she cost 5, she's still bad. If she cost 4, she's still bad. If she costs 3, then she's good. But I don't even think she's cEDH playable because she doesn't know what she wants to do. You could do things with creatures that care about their own power, like Savala in the deck, but then at that point you might as well just be playing Savala. You can be doing things where you're just reducing the cost of artifacts, and then you're trying to do artifact storm stuff, but then you're not in blue, so you're not doing any of the good artifact synergy effects that you would want. Samut's just in the bad colors for what she wants to do, and then she split herself between 2 effects, and she has a pretty bad cost.
Well, I mean, don't you wish you could just like drop a Nagila or like some mass token generator with her or something? Because like speed, it's always going to be at its best +4/+0, and it's not like it's giving them trample or anything special. Like they're just going to collide with things. You need to work. You have to work so hard to get her to pop. In my opinion, I feel like dude, is it wrong? I just feel like you should play something else in Naya.
Yeah, agreed. Because
she's a B2, right? Like she's not horrible.
Yeah, she's B2, maybe B3, but I'd say B2 because she has an identity crisis. She doesn't know what she wants to be.
It's tough. Sorry, Simone. I really like this character. I want her to get a good card. And this was so
Uh,
close to a W. It's just, yeah.
the Gruul one is a good one. She's
Girls.
played the 99 of Nagila, but
There you go.
there's no good standout Samut.
Yeah, she's not Jetmir. She's no Jetmir. Yeah. How about Loot, though? Pathfinder. What a little boy. Am I reading this one? I might be
Yeah,
reading this one.
you got this one. I think I did
It's
Samut.
two generic and teamer. 2/4 Beast Nobel. Double Strike, Vigilant, Haste. Everyone's favorite mascot. A lot of exhaustibilities here, but before we do that, I just want to look at the alternative art. We'll look at the cute anime one because I feel like that's what Wizards really wants to show you. Oh shit, his car is the same as Winter's. It might even be Winter's, or like a go-kart version. Double Strike, Vigilant, Haste. Holy crap. Wow, so much damage, so much haste. You can pay green and tap it, add 3 mana of any one color. Pay a blue and tap it, draw 3 cards. Pay a red and tap it, loot deals 3 damage to any target. You've got Bolt, you've got Ancestral Recall, you've got
Black Lotus.
Lotus.
Kind of Black Lotus.
Well, is it any one color? Black Lotus. I mean, you're paying 1 green for it. What you get the idea. But these are all exhaustibilities. It's important to note that each one of these abilities has its own separate. You can't do it again. So, am I wrong? Actually, wait. When you exhaust this character, it's just the activate each exhaust
That ability can only be activated once.
Right. So not if this was exhausted this game, it's done exhausting. You can do one of these 3 things. So it's like Kenrith, if Kenrith could only do one thing one time.
No, it's what's his name? The Wooburg guy that lets you make copies of famous cards that existed. Like he makes the token copies of Sylvan Dragon, Black Lotus, all them.
Oh shit. What
Garn?
Yeah, one of those.
So
how do you feel about the little boy?
Loot is cEDH viable only because one, he's 3 mana in very, very tight air quotes because you play him for 5, you pay 1 more, and then he gives you 3 back immediately, which you can use for whatever.
Asterisks. Yeah.
He has haste, which means you can use the exhaust abilities immediately. The double strike and vigilance is somewhat relevant because that means that you can punch without any kind of retribution. But the main things with loot are A, you can draw cards off of using loot to just keep your hand full by playing loot once, like ramping out the loot pretty hard, upticking with loot, drawing a couple cards, and then finding food chain and doing the food chain lines.
Yeah.
Because if you have 1 regular mana to pay into loot, you'll generate infinite mana that you can use for loot's activated
off
abilities.
Of his top exhaust. Yeah.
Yeah, off the top exhaust, and then you can
just
pay infinite mana into the lightning bolt effect on loot and just kill everyone. So loot's like a good flexible food chain commander.
Is this one of the better food chain commanders? Like food chain sliver, you don't even hear about anymore. But I mean, he was kind of the cleanest way to do it. And I know people like Rocco food chain is the thing. Is this just better? Is this okay? Is this a good food chain commander?
This is a good food chain commander only because I think this is one of the first teamer ones that has a win con that isn't draw.
Yeah. Deadeye Navigator Kinnan. Deadeye Navigator plus Kinnan.
Oh yeah, Deadeye Navigator on loot to keep using that that mana ability over and over again.
It's kind of sick. Yeah, actually, Displacer Kitten. Yeah. Right.
Oh, yeah, that's actually Displacer Kitten makes this insane. Better. Holy crap! I don't know how I missed that.
But the most important bit of text on this card is haste. Like we wouldn't really be talking about this unless it had haste, right? Like it would not be a good card without haste. So at 5 mana, I kind of like Displacer Kitten lines Wolfsbane the best. Having blue makes it so Kitty can come into play. Yeah, I do think that just cheesing it with Kitten is probably the way to go. Although food chain lines aren't difficult to add in, like, what is that? Food chain squee? Like, you just run that. I would run a backup line, not Miss Hello Griffin. You'd probably, I mean, shit, why not Miss Hello Griffin, I guess. Whatever's more accessible for you to find with, like, an Imperial Recruiter or some shit. I would say loot is an A, and I would say that loot is a B5.
Yeah, loot is not going to be everywhere. Loot is going to be playable in cEDH, but it's not going to be crazy. So it's 5.
What are the Kitten lines here? Do we have a clean flicker
form? I think kitten's
You're just
more
saying
so.
just value
Yeah,
tone.
because
Okay.
if you play an artifact and then you get mana, then you play another artifact and draw, then another artifact and draw, then another artifact and mana. So it's every 3 artifacts you play, you're drawing 6 cards.
Dude, I'm kind of
Yeah,
surprised. Loot's not trash.
yeah. First, like highly playable loot. I know people wanted to say the Timna loot was good enough, the one that impulse draws for every permanent type you control,
Hmm.
but this is just good. This is just very good because you're in green, so you can find kitten very easily. Whereas with food chain, you can't find food chain very easily with this commander, but kitten is good. Kitten's easy to find. Kenai was another decent
Do you
note.
want to? Yeah, no, the Deadeye Navigator with
Yeah, did I say Kenai? Yeah, Deadeye Navigator.
Yeah, I
Um,
wonder what's his defense or what's his attack? Is he like a 2/4 something like that?
he's probably a 5/5.
What is Displacer Kitten's stats actually?
2/2.
So yeah, your Imperial Recruiter probably goes in the list too. Would you run Imperial Recruiter here actually?
Uh,
Should we build loot? Should loot be on the list? We should
like
build
as a
loot.
commander, we should build.
Yeah,
Yeah,
frankly, we should build loot. I need to look at what are the most effective play lines for Teamer because I don't really play these colors. But you're right, it's in all the colors for Food Chain. It just this seems good. It just seems really good. We'll
yeah.
get around to building loot soon. It obviously has payoffs. So
And
very clean.
if Dockside does get unbanned with the April
Whoo!
unbans, Loot is just another Dockside commander.
Yeah, do we have something for Displacer Kitten to do? Yes. So far as game changers, make a B3 version of loot that just kills everyone. Because literally, it would just be Dockside Displacer Kitten and like it's screw Guy's Cradle. Like I'll just do any of the. I'll do Ancient Tomb and what are some of the other ones? I guess you could Mana Vault in here and then just use the generic to help push something else out. Anyway, PNLR.
Pianular, 1 green, 1 red, 1 blue for a legendary creature human artificer with 2 power and 4 toughness. Whenever one or more artifact creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, you get 2 energy counters.
Oh
At
shit.
the beginning of your end step, you may pay 1 or more energy. If you do, create an XX colorless vehicle artifact token named Nalar. I'm not going to try to pronounce that. With flying and crew 2, where X is the amount of energy spent this way.
Etherjet.
This is bracket 2. The fun thing that I saw when I was thinking of building this was, oh hey, you can do Life's Legacy Soul's Majesty effects with this to pay energy to make a big thing, through it, and then just go, oh, I'm gonna draw 20, I'm gonna draw 20, I'm gonna draw 20. It's basically build a Yargle Multani.
Built a Yargle Multani.
Yeah.
It's fine. A lot again, like a lot of energy commanders, like the requisites are kind of high to do anything really effective, and the fact that you're accruing it on damage is meh. But it has a strategy. Like I don't hate this. I think that this is B2 as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could
Next one's yours.
you comfortably throw her there. Someone commented that they like Saheeli. Let's talk about Saheeli. Saheeli gets some sick ass art, by the way. This is no exception. So for 1 generic and teamer, so 4 total, 4/4 body, human artificer. Ooh, gotta love those artificers. Whenever you cast an artificer or artifact, you get an energy. Okay. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may pay 3 energy. That's not much. When you do, create a token that's a copy of target permanent you control, except it's a 5/5 artifact creature in addition to its other types and has haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. All right. Is there like some sort of combat celebrant shenanigan I'm not thinking about?
Well, even if you don't do combat celebrant stuff, just populate. You make a token copy of any permanent you control, except it's a 5/5. Then you make another token copy of it with populate, then another and another and another. Is good enough. What's the dumbest populate permanent that we can copy? Something's going on with my computer that's just keeping a constant pop up. Oh, is that why? No, that. Why is this random thing here on my computer? Okay, I'm gonna have to
So
restart my computer.
what are we well we'll get 2 more cards. We'll get there.
Yep.
We're gonna cross this finish line. Saheeli, what is the best thing you can do with Saheeli? How
Uh,
are you making infinite energy, Will? Because that's what the world wants to know.
we don't need infinite energy. We just need three.
So basically, you cast Saheeli. Realistically, the artifacts that you would be playing after the fact, you've probably cast prior to her because they were things to help cast her, right? So, like your Soul Ring into a Signet into a yada yada. So, unless you're trying to hold off on casting that Mox Opal, it's not like you're going to have a lot of artifacts to throw into her. If the goal is to get 3 energy to duplicate something that could win on the fly, what's the best lightning runner? Yeah, I just want to know what are the cards we're trying to run manipulate with Saheeli here. So lightning runner, whenever it attacks, you get 2 energy. Then you may pay 2, 4, 6, 8. If you do untap all creatures you control after this phase, there's initial combat phase. Yeah, this is a card I've always wanted to leverage. It's just there's never been a good way to leverage her to, make infinite combats and win the game, right? So is this the answer? You get 2 energy. You would need effectively 4 of them, right, to get the 8 in total on a swing to win. So,
But you can only get the one per combat, so you need a
yeah,
lot of energy to kickstart that.
right. You need
Which
other like ways to duplicate it, I guess, but like you're saying,
yeah.
proliferate and stuff.
Uh,
I just
there's like
don't.
a
I just don't
there's a
see.
couple things that make energy when they attack and when they deal combat damage. You could just do combat celebrant plus like one of those, and then try to
That
win the
makes
game
enough.
through that.
Yeah. Is there one that makes 3? Is there one that generates 3?
There's one that makes energy equal to the damage you do. So there's one that technically makes like 4 plus, but you need to
Okay.
constantly connect with it.
Oh, also,
Um,
if it's a copy that's a 5/5, that'll actually help. But
oh yeah, port razor's probably better than combat celebrant in that case because it is 3 extra combats instead of 1. So that makes that easier.
Yeah, yeah. Port Razor would be good.
Uh
That's the red pirate.
yeah. I think just due to the fact that you can make a token copy of a permanent, there's some abuse that you can do because you can just make token copies of the craziest thing on your board, or make a token copy of something that you can't usually get a token copy of, and then use copy a token you control effects like populate or a couple of other things to make permanent copies of those things. So there's some utility here.
Ether Revolt is a win con. You proliferate a commander if you use Ether Revolt as a win con. Ether Revolt is the enchantment with Revolt. This is an MH3 card. 2 generic double red. As long as a permanent you control left the battlefield this turn, if a source you control would deal non-con damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals that much damage plus 2 instead. Whenever you get 1 or more energy, Ether Revolt deals that much damage to any target. God, Ether. I love the Kaladesh setting, by the way. I really love this setting. Man, I don't know. I feel like she's B3. I'm just trying to sit and think of like she does stuff. I just don't know that she's competing on a cEDH level, and B4 would suggest that she could. So
She's not B4, she's maybe B3. It's a question between B3 and B2 right now.
yeah, I'm comfortable putting her at B3 because I don't have the research in hand for like the best energy cards, but I'm sure there is some form of energy synergy here that could get her to pop off in a meaningful way. It's important to note that you're like a lot of token, cloning effects, like they go away at the end of turn. But yeah, Angelus is probably right, like not cEDH, but like I like that sort of approach as a proliferate commander. This is fine. I think it's B3. It's low cost too, so it's not difficult to get there. Are we moving on to Mimeoplasm, sir?
We get the meme plasm.
Yeah, the revered one. Oh shit, there's a special foily version that is playing with the T-Rex. This is the one we're gonna look at. Holy crap. This looks so dope, dude. Have you seen this one?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
It's nasty as hell. All right, Will, you read it off, actually.
Memeoplasm Revered 1 is X, a black, a green, and a blue for a legendary creature ooze with 0 power and 0 toughness.
Mm.
As this enters, exile up to X creature cards from your graveyard. It enters the battlefield with 3+1/+1 counters on it for each creature exiled this
Ugh.
way. You can pay 2, and then this becomes a copy of target creature exiled with it, except it's a 0/0 and has this ability. Um,
Could it have been any graveyard and this would have been acceptable?
uh, so I think the best way to look at this card is probably Necrotic Ooze in the command zone. It's not exactly Necrotic Ooze in the command zone, but it's more or less. You can do Scourge Familiar Asmodeus lines, but you just discard 5. Actually, no, that'd be discard 7 cards to get 7 draws to get 7 mana to yada yada. Um, uh, there are combos where you can use Mimeoplasm and flip between setups to just keep tapping it for like a high amount of mana off of some weird dork and then untap it. Like any make mana equal to power dork that can make blue, and then horseshoe crab. Like name any kind of untap effect, any kind of dork that makes enough mana to flip between the two modes. It has infinite combos. I feel like it's more of just a have fun commander than it is a powerful commander. So it's probably a 2, because I really do just think the best way to play this commander is get big stats and then use transform into something that cares about big stats.
Right, or something that could leverage those, like, discard X +1/+1 counters, draw cards, or,
You know what
ping
the
something, or...
best you know what the best play is off this card, and it's stupid?
Mm.
Sage of Hours.
Wait, what is the one that lets you remove a +1/+1 counter to put more counters? Am I being dumb? Remove all +1/+1 counters for each 5 counters removed. Take an extra turn after this one.
Yeah, enters with 3+1/+1 counters for everything exiled this way. Exile 5 creatures, take 3 extra turns. It's dumb.
Is there a way to chain extra turns here?
Uh,
You need to exile. There's no way to. We
there's
need.
no way to loop it. It's just get several extra turns.
Yeah, you want the
It's
Hydra that doubles counters and one that removes an unblockable infect creature. Oh, you copy like an unblockable infect creature.
and well, you copy an unblockable creature attack, then after blockers are declared, you flip into any infect creature. That's something you can do.
What's your buried alive pile? Like, is there a line of play we're missing?
Your buried alive pile is probably. Is it just Asmodeus and or Asmodeus Scourge Familiar, and you just do the thing to mill your entire deck, and then discard mana, do Thoracle stuff?
You're in blue.
It
Yeah.
it's probably that. That's probably
So
probably the line.
what's the line? It's Asmodeus.
In Scourge Familiar, you discard 7 cards to get 7 mana. Use 2 of it to flip, 3 of it to draw, 2 of it to flip back. Repeat, repeat, repeat.
You need to discard seven cards.
Well, you can theoretically draw cards first and then flip and then discard cards, but yeah, it is not a clean commander. It's not cEDH by any stretch of the imagination.
Oh yeah.
I'm having trouble trying to see if this is a bracket 3 commander. Feel like this is
I feel like
bracket
it
2.
could be brackets. Here's my issue with this guy. I think it should have read as Mimeoplasm enters exile up to X cards from any graveyard. It enters with 3+1/+1 counters on it for each creature. Everything can read it the same afterwards. It really shouldn't be limited to you at the kind
Yeah.
of cost we're talking about here. This is like a worse Necrotic Ooze in that sense, right?
Because
No, not worse Necrotic Ooze, but
here's the biggest issue with the card. You need to use this as just a reanimate. You need to pay 4 mana and then 2 more. So it's 6 mana to reanimate in the command zone.
and it's limited. It's like, is it even that good? Like, I just want to be able to leverage this, like, because frankly, I see this entering the battlefield and then me just like sitting on it. And the fact that I can't even disrupt my opponents, like it has to be me, like it just makes me think immediately, again, like Buried Alive or Entomb. So it's just like, as a reanimate commander, it just feels clunky. I think it's a B3 though, because like there's still stuff to do and it has a game plan. It's just not a good one.
Here's my other issue with the card. How are you consistently getting cards into your graveyard to set up this
You're
plan?
not.
Like,
You're
you have
really
Buried
not.
Alive and you have Entomb, but like, that's it.
You're
Yeah,
in
and
color of Hermit Druid. You can Hermit Druid your library, and then you just need mana, which is a lot. But if you, I mean, okay, so Hermit Druid food chain, we're working overtime here. I'm sorry, we could probably be done with this guy.
I feel like if we have to work overtime, it's a B2.
Oh, it's just the kind of jank I like though. Uh, yeah, Will, I think you're right. This feels bad. This feels so bad. I can't. There's got to be something better in Abzan.
There's a million things better in Abzan. We can go for the Banana Man, and that's better in Abzan.
Yeah, this is pretty bad. Okay, I mean, I just like I'm appreciating the art and I want to make it work, but may as well run Muldrotha instead for the cost. Yeah, probably. Guys, I think that's it. I think we're there. So that'll cover it for our bracketed tier list. We can review our brackets in a second. Let us know if there are revisions you'd like to see for this tier list. Is there a better way to categorize some of these? Because we're working through, you know, what WotC has put out for the Commander format so far as power levels are concerned. So if there's a better way to calculate and or look at these cards within the bracket system, let us know. But yeah, we've got 4 cEDH playable commanders, like readily playable commanders. We can take a closer look at them. And I think that these all accurately fit up there. I would say in order of best to least best, it would be Hashiton, Loot, Ketramos, Howler, in my opinion. And those last 2 you could sort of bump either way. So if you're looking for the strongest thing from the set, I would say it's Hashiton. And let's even organize that now. Sure. This is how I would look at it. It's from best to worst here. And again, it could be either or on these last 2. I'm just favoring Ketramos because I feel like it feels better. Like I'm disrupting the game. I'm gaining power in the game. I'm doing it quicker. And then my combo lines, there's a lot of combo lines. It just feels like really good Orsov. And
Yeah.
Howler is like really interesting, is it? Because is it beats is not like a thing, but it generally works. Again, I would watch our live stream deck tech on Howler, Captain Howler, to get a better idea. Hashiton is the best. Yeah, Jeff Wren, 100% Hashiton's the best. And so far as our high-powered legendaries are concerned, I would put Mendicant in front of Vinwixt, right?
I do think Vinwixt and Mendicant are in the best position because I don't think I'd call either of them cEDH, but if I saw them win a cEDH tournament, I would not be horribly surprised. So bracket 4 is kind of perfect for them.
Do you like Mendicant over Vinwixt?
Yeah. Mendicant just has a million different ways that you can build them that's really cool. You can either copy tokens that you create off of Mendicant, or you just do KCI stuff. You have a couple different things that work well with Mendicant. And with Vinwixt, you're drawing with evasive creatures.
Yeah, it's so far as brackets 3, 2, and 1, these are really like up in the air. I don't think we need to recategorize these in any sense. Like if you want to play any one of these, you are ultimately playing in a properly casual setting. So however you want to play these, to whatever extent or power degree, that's up for you. But I think moving forward, you can sort of resort these from what you should be most interested in brewing, because the top tiers are going to be the ones that are arguably the ones you're going to want to be more consistent in anyways. Hashiton is the best. Love the deck. I'd love to build one on the channel. I think so far as legendaries we should build, though, I would love to build Red Shift, or is that his name? Red
Shift, yeah, you got it right.
Yeah, 100%. I want to build Red Shift. This looks like a really cool bracket 3 commander. I want to build Ketramos for sure, just on a personal level. I feel like we should build Hashiton, but he could kind of come last. I feel like probably Hashiton's been brewed to hell. Loot would be fun though. Loot, Ketramos, Redshift, and maybe we can do another bracket 3 commander. And when we brew moving into the future, we will be brewing 4 bracket systems. So whether it's bracket 4 or 5, we'll probably label it as cEDH regardless, but bracket 3 should be interesting for sure. At any rate, any thoughts, Will, on the list or on your feelings in the bracket system?
I mean, came out pretty well. We finally had a couple cards on top of the list, but that's pretty much because A tier and S tier got merged. But
Yeah, right. Because how would you
it
say
worked.
how many S tier? If we're looking at our old labeling system, how many of these are actually S tier?
Probably just probably
Probably
just
loot.
Hashiton, because even like
Loot's
Displacer Kitten
close.
Storm is
Yeah,
an iffy-ish strategy. So I think Hashiton is the only one that's by itself S tier.
right. And I would say that we'd have a couple A's like we normally do. I would say that Mendicant and Vin Wix are like top end of B or
They might have made it into A, but they were
right,
probably the lower end of A. They
right.
probably would have been B.
This is interesting though. I think it's a cleaner way to look at this, and it sort of invites more legendaries to the table. If we're looking at bracket 5 as things that will be immediately cEDH viable. But yeah, I'm excited to brew for some of these. If there's like a legendary you guys want to see us brew, please let us know. I feel like that Nissa is low. Maybe a low 4. We may have to look at Kona for ideas. It's just she's only in one color though. But yeah, we could still look there for insight. You think she's a low 4? You could high
The
power her.
reason why Nissa is a 3 is because you need to play Nissa, then play lands, get Nissa up, then cast stuff for free. Whereas like Kona just does it. I think the Elvish Piper Commander, that one is probably a low 4. Because
Yeah, that's just
it
good
does
value.
straight up Kona things without any kind of input or setup.
I think a lot of builders going to brew hash. Any build for with Valgavoth or Nezahal, you're not winning. You're just putting creatures other players take for other players to take. Yeah. So yeah, I definitely want to do Redshift and bracket 3, and of course we're gonna cover some of these cEDH ones. But let us know if there's any bracket 3 like lower end bracket commanders you'd like to see us brew for. Obviously, let us know if there's any cEDH specific ones, past or present. I think it would be fun. Also, with the April unveil of the unbanned banned game changer list modifications inbound, I think it would be kind of fun to brew some decks that might be playable in the not too distant future. And if you watched our recent video on the bracket system and the game changer list, we honestly feel like Golos can come off that ban list. And I would like to do like a Golos Gate deck, like a modern Golos Gate deck. So it would be fun to like brew these in advance so we can get an idea of what cards we should be picking up and what that deck even looks like now. Right? I do Golos would be super fun to brew. I've never
Golos
brewed
is
one.
delightful.
Yeah, I was just like 5 color cool shit, and I have like a 5 CMC dude. I just drop in game. It's gonna be super fun. I've seen Golos played obviously in the past. I've never played it, but I would love to. All right, guys, that's it for this stream. I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll see you next week. Will, you and I can talk about what we brew. I don't think that Redshift is going to get a lot of viewership, but for me personally, like that is a deck I would play. It just looks fun. And I don't have a 4 fun deck, so maybe I should build it, but I really want to play Ketramos. Ketramos is definitely my speed.
Yeah, we could do Redshift. Redshift would be a fun build. He's just all of the equipment, all of the game power effects, and then smack people and cheat everything in.
Hey guys, enjoy your weekends. Like, share, subscribe. Buy through the TCG player link. That's it. Join the Discord. How about
Indeed.
that? How about that?
Join the Discord. That is a good one. Get announcements whenever we're setting up for new things. Help us discuss what we're gonna do next, or thoughts on cards that get revealed. Because as new sets come out, we discuss the new cards in the Discord.
These are facts. And we're going to be talking the shit out of Final Fantasy. At least I
Are they
will.
shadow facts?
They'll be just plain old facts.
Oh.
Sorry. Horse tribal. Basri Kitten tribal. That's next.